That was the coolest video ever.
That's amazing. Hello and welcome to Frankenstein House. My name is G.A. Alexander. This is Bon. We
Hello.
are, I don't know what our mission statement is, but it has something to do with talking about comics, horror, music, and spinning skulls.
And the Howard cut.
And the Howard cut. Release the Howard cut of Queen of the Damned. I
Where-
implore you.
I just saw the other day that they have this soundtrack on vinyl, so I have to go get that now for no reason whatsoever, just to have it. I mean, it wasn't a bad soundtrack, but I mean,
Is it going to be is it going to be the Jonathan Davis versions of the songs, or is it going to be the redone ones with like David Draymond and all those people?
ooh, gross. Let me see. Let me check though on that because I saw it's a $30 fucking thing. Looks like they released it recently. Yeah, it came out like last year or so. Oh, cool! It's an exclusive Coke bottle clear vinyl, limited to 1,500 copies. They've probably sold one. But yeah, no, I don't know. I think it's like the legit soundtrack.
No.
I think so anyway, from what I'm seeing from a couple different places. I hope it's like just the legit soundtrack because David Draymond.
Yeah, it was David Draymond did one of them. Wayne Static did one of the songs.
Yeah,
I think Marilyn Manson did one of them.
Yeah, that's right. So it's gonna be that. Yeah, it's gonna be Wayne Static, David Draymond, Chester Bennington, and then
Okay.
I don't think he even sings on these. They got Jay Gordon doing "Slept So Long."
Yeah, so from what I understand, the movie, the deal with the movie is that Jonathan Davis wrote all those songs, and it's Jonathan Davis's voice in the movie, but they had to, because Korn was like in a big recording contract at the time, they had to redo all the songs with new voices. Yeah,
I'd
which
be
is
cool
just
to get the original. That'd be better.
yeah. I know there's like Jonathan Davis. There's some like Jonathan Davis live album with where he does a bunch of those songs now. But yeah, at the time apparently he couldn't, just for legal contract reasons.
Lame.
Yeah. So yeah, how you been doing this week, man?
Oh, doing all right. Just still getting acclimated, still getting things unpacked, living the dream. You know, all that fun stuff. Apparently, I guess we have issues with getting mail here. I don't know. I guess we have a package thief or some shit. For as much as we pay for this fucking place, like, fuck that.
Yeah, I mean, you live in Seattle, you're gonna have some package thieves. That's what I've unfortunately found out.
Yeah, but we live in like in a building secure, and we have a secure package room, and yet it's still an issue. It's still like a fucking thing where apparently they got to the point where on the package room like a week or so ago, they finally, I guess somebody had pried open the package door, which is as a professional locksmith. You can open almost anything with like a flathead screwdriver. So basically they can pry if it's like, we should probably go back and just wipe all of this chat. So basically they were able to pry the door open. I won't tell you how because I don't want to be that extreme, but so they put something to kind of stop it. And I'm like looking at it and I'm like, it helps, but it's not gonna just stop it, but okay. So it's pretty interesting being in a bougie apartment complex, which I've never lived in one before. Yeah. I'm not bougie, but who knows? It's not a bad price, but it's just wild to see something with all these amenities still go to shit because of everything that's going on. Like, I just don't get it.
Yeah, that's unfortunately that's what's happening for a lot of people. Is kind of all the security that people kind of took for granted doesn't really exist right now.
Apparently, we're supposed to have a night security guard, I guess, on weekends, and I saw the dude once when we moved in. So I don't know. Like, I mean, I just would be cool because we got a lot of important stuff coming, and of course, we order shit all the time. So I just don't really want to like, oh man, I spent some money on this sweet fucking thing. Great. Now somebody in Seattle has it. That's not me. What a
My partner's old place before we moved in together had a package thief, and my partner still into, but like especially at the time was very much into taxidermy, and had ordered from the internet I think it was a conjoined fetus cat.
Nice.
So the package thief, I'm sure, had a lovely time.
What the fuck is that? Just order. That's at that point. You just got to order really weird shit for like super cheap from sketchy parts of the internet, and just make them like just be all like, you know, on the packaging, just go balls out on it. Put it in the biggest fucking box you have. Like, make it look nice, and then it's just like, you know, a broken PS1 or some shit. Like, wow, this was worth it. This is worth the felony I'm gonna get. We used to locksmith, and we had a lot of people that would break into like those apartment units that'll have like those standalone like mailboxes, and there'll be like a package thing, but it's out on the street, and those things are ridiculously easy to open. And so we had this one complex that would just keep calling us, and no matter what advice I'd give them, I'd be like, you know, there's like a new unit out there that's a lot harder to get into. That's, you guys should just upgrade to. It's really not that expensive compared to like how much shit's being sold. No, we're fine. We're fine. It's the point of where you can just pull on the doors and they open. They're just so worn out. And the owner was such a cheapskate that it was ridiculous. Don't steal shit, boys.
Yeah, not from your neighbors at least.
Yeah.
All right. So let's set the stage for what we're about to talk about. So All-Star Superman. So DC Comics, this sort of, from what I remember from the time, this kind of spiraled out of all the publishing initiatives that they were setting up in post an event they called Infinite Crisis. So Infinite Crisis was sort of DC every few years does a big like continuity resetting crossover where they attempt to streamline their continuity, make all the alternate universes make sense, and it never works, and they shouldn't keep doing it.
Absolve their fucking sins.
Yeah, because basically they're like, oh, we're going to make it simpler so new readers can check this out, and the new readers never show up, and the old readers get pissed off, so they leave. So there's like every 3 years they say, well, hey, we're doing these crossovers, we're going to streamline everything, it's going to be great. And then a year and a half later, it's like, whoops, okay, we're making it the same as it was before. And then a year after that, they say, hey, we're going to streamline everything again. Never works. One of the things that came out of Infinite Crisis, though, was they decided to do a bunch of interesting little like sublines. And one of them was the All-Star imprint. So the idea was it was going to be continuity free takes on established superhero characters. And they were going to start with a Batman one and a Superman one, and then they were going to go to a Wonder Woman one, and maybe a Flash one, and a Green Lantern one. And they're going to be standalone projects that people can read and enjoy without having to know 50 years of continuity.
Yeah.
This was a tremendous failure, from what I understand.
Yeah.
One of the big reasons, like, and we'll get into this, has been like they hire these sort of like rock star writers, rock star artists, these sort of people at the top of their game.
Chad Kroger kicking in the door. You guys want a Superman story? I got you. Just like.
Well, I mean, okay, one of the other ones was All-Star Batman and Robin, with written by Frank Miller, the Chad Kroger of comics. And that was one of the issues, is that so we have the two that they led off with were All-Star Superman and All-Star Batman and Robin. All-Star Superman was written by Grant Morrison. It was illustrated by Frank Quitely. And it was and it was so steeped in the lore of 1950s through 1970s Superman that I feel that like people who were looking for a lot of like a good Superman story they can get into without knowing the continuity were just utterly confused by it. All-Star Batman and Robin by Frank Miller and illustrated by Jim Lee was effectively the second sequel to The Dark Knight Returns. It was quite clearly set in that continuity because they had Bruno and they had a bunch of they had like mutants and other characters from that run in it, and it was just
we got to bring him back.
It was very quickly abandoned.
Last time you called someone a spud, Frank Miller?
Well, that was also I don't know if you ever saw this online. There was a meme of do you know who I am? Like, I'm the goddamn Batman.
Yeah.
I was from that.
It's such a great meme. We should just open up with that.
Well, unfortunately, we'll get to that. We'll get to that one eventually because that's a whole thing to itself.
Yeah, that's a. It's gonna be a little bit before we get to that.
Get into it. We have some comments from Twitch. I don't know if I want to read these. Hold on, we'll go. We have one from VXNZM. Yes, mate, you got a lockdown baldy top class from you. Do you know this person? I have no idea what this person, what language this person speaks.
That is. No idea.
And then, okay. So this is going to be, I think for the time being, until we get to the point where we're doing super chats and things, I'm just going to do, unless a comment doesn't seem, yeah, as long as a comment doesn't seem particularly offensive or particularly abusive, I'll go ahead and I'll display him on the screen. So All-Star Superman, Grant Morrison, Frank Whiteley, it is basically trying to do sort of a almost science fiction, very like 1970s or 1970s, like Silver Age, Mort Weisinger era Superman, very crazy, off the wall storylines, but trying to make them make sense in kind of an emotional way. In general, though, the All-Star line was a bit of a failure. The third promised version of or edition of the All-Star line was supposed to be All-Star Wonder Woman, which was also going to be a Grant Morrison joint, and that ended up becoming an Earth One novel, which was another standalone story graphic novel series, which I think with the way everything panned out, ended up being a lot more successful. They had a lot more published there, and they're still publishing they're still publishing Earth One books today, whereas All-Star they kind of gave up on. They resuscitated the name a couple times for standalone books, but they were mostly like in continuity stuff, and not in this All-Star universe. Nice. So I guess we'll just start off. This is going to be, I think, the last time I ever ask that we do a 12-issue run on anything, because this is a lot of.
I got through a good portion of it just with all the unpacking and stuff. So I got the gist of the storyline because I kind of went through and let me kind of get the gist of what's going on. Old wiki it real quick. While went through and read it. I got pretty far into it. I'm excited to finish it to kind of see what my overall opinion of it is. But so far, I mean, it's not terrible. It's just it jumps around quite a bit. So it took me a moment to be like, the fuck, and I haven't read Superman in a really long time because I'm just, as I've stated before, I'm just not a Superman fan. So I'm trying to remember the last Superman I read, which probably would have been like Death of Superman or something a long fucking time ago. Yeah. But it jumped around quite a bit, and then it took me a moment to be like, okay, what the fuck am I missing? Like, what the am I missing? A key part of this story for a moment?
So that's kind of a stylistic thing that Grant Morrison does a lot, is that he doesn't like to over-explain sort of like jumps in logic
or
and
at
jumps.
fucking all. Because there's some things in there, like I had to go back, so I'm like reading it on Comicology. I'm like, did I just like skip a fucking page? Like, where do we get from that to that? I'm like, fuck it, okay, let's just run with it. And so it's very much doesn't like to explain anything.
Yeah, so he is he's one of comics' great magicians. He and Alan Moore, they apparently hate each other, but they're both sort of the great occultists of comic books, along with Rachel Pollard, who wrote the Doom Patrol for a while, who was a professional tarot reader. But Grant Morrison. So Alan Moore is into his sort of Glycon sock puppet god, and Grant Morrison is very much into what they call chaos magic, which I think was the idea that it was a very sort of like open source approach to occultism, where you sort of take whatever pieces of different things you like and you kind of mash them together. And they have a lot of stuff using, you build your own sigils using words and removing the vowels and removing skipped letters, and then you create your magical sigil based off of, you write out a sentence of what you want. You remove the vowels, you remove the repeated consonants, and then you take all the individual letters, and then you got to turn them into a pictogram, and then
you has a whole find thing. Waldo halfway through that, connect the dots. Mad lived it for a while.
One of his major works was a book called The Invisibles, which was supposed to be a giant comic book version of that. And at one point, The Invisibles was set to be canceled, and so he asked that all of his readers, they create one of these sigils to basically say The Invisibles will not be canceled. And he said that you needed to charge it. Now, charging sigils is a thing, or sigils. I've heard it said both ways. Is a thing you can do in multiple ways, but one of the things he wanted them to do is to charge their sigils by everybody masturbating and staring at the sigil while doing it. And wouldn't you know it, The Invisibles got a second volume, so I can't really come down too hard on him for that.
So I guess we learned a life lesson here. If you look at something and jerk off enough, you'll get it.
Yeah.
Maybe. It really just depends on.
You might want to wait until social distancing lifts again before we start getting too far into that. And then, but yeah, he is very. He's an interesting guy. The artist for it is a guy named Frank Quitely, which is obviously a pseudonym. So he got to start making porn comics, I think, in Scotland, and to not bring down the sort of the social shame of making porn comics on his family, he used the name Frank Quitely, which is obviously a play on Quite Frankly.
Porn comics.
Nice. Yeah, but he kind of got into one of those weird situations where you make up this joke name for yourself and you become too successful, and now you just have the joke name.
No. We fucked up. No.
So next time we do something at a longer form thing like this, 12 issues, I'm going to start breaking it into, like, maybe we do 3 at a time or something. In this case,
learning a lot.
Yeah.
I know, it was a lot. I was going through it. I'm like, how many fucking pages is this? Like, holy shit, this is quite a.
I think the trade is like 250 or something like that. And then with like black matter, it's like 290.
It's like 290 or something. I have the I don't know. I think I have the DC Black, whatever version.
Oh yeah, the Black Label one with all the sketches in the back.
Yeah. Cool. But yeah, I just noticed with it, he just jumps around a lot, which is fine. I just, kind of skimming, it's kind of skimming through it first, like, okay, let's read. I'm like, it's like, what the fuck is going on? Isn't it supposed to be for people that don't need continuity to know what's going on? Who the fuck is this? Who the fuck is this?
Yeah, well, he's talked about, like, well, I make comics for, I consider, like, the comics I make to be, like, geared towards, like, very smart 14-year-olds, and I'm like, am I dumber than a 14-year-old?
Yeah, because I'm just like going like, man, like I'm paying attention to this, but it's jumping around a lot, and it's what feels like one of those ones that I have to read like once or twice to kind of go, okay, that's what's going on.
Yeah,
That's what he's doing. That's clever bastard.
yeah. I think that like because I've read it 4 or 5 times since it came out, I think
Yeah.
probably I'm at a better place than maybe the first time reader would be with it. But it is, yeah, it's one of those things that like it came out and then he had to do a series of interviews to explain what he was doing during parts of it. You know,
You didn't tell me I had to do interviews. Like, pretty much like, okay, this is what this really means. And this is what's going on. And okay, I guess I could have pinned more story into it. You guys are babies. I wrote this for 14-year-olds. You got to be fucking ashamed of yourself. Just go halfway through the interview and just like, fuck you guys. My niece can get it all right.
Yeah, that would be embarrassing if we're all just we all think we're so smart. We're not. We're in fact like less with it than Grant Morrison's 14-year-old niece.
Not as smart as her. We should just use that as a scale of measurement.
Are
you smarter than his 14-year-old niece? We don't have a niece. Shut up. You have a niece for this exercise.
All right. So I'm gonna jump into it. We'll take it where we can. So we start the first issue. The first page is actually, in my opinion, like the best comic book origin of all time because it's one page, and you don't need I don't know. I feel like all of these movies, when they try to reboot something or try to reintroduce characters, they need to spend like an hour and change actually explaining who this character is, where they came from, all this other shit.
I don't need to know people's life fucking story. I didn't come to watch a movie just to like 2.5 hours of you like this because your dog didn't love you enough, and then 20 minutes of action. Like, all right,
yeah, it's very much like a whole situation. Just like you actually didn't really need all of this.
Not at all.
Yeah, there's a whole just doomed world, desperate scientists, kindly couple, Superman. That's it. Like
that's all you need. That's it. Did something happen? Did something amiss happen during his childhood? Nope.
I mean, maybe you gotta like explain to the people how like his human father wanted him to hide himself from the world, and oh god, I'm especially calling out like Man of Steel for it, which I think is just really embarrassing in the giant amount of horseshit that it needs to like pile into a storyline.
You talking about the movie Man of Steel?
Yeah, Man of Steel.
I watched it once and it was terrible.
Yeah.
I think none of the Superman movies have been good that I can recall. Like even Man of Steel, like I'm like, well, this sucked. And then again, I didn't watch all of Batman vs Superman, but that was terrible. Like 10 minutes into it, you're just like, what the holy horse shit is going on? Ooh, that's fucking Lex Luthor? Oh no. Oh,
stop. And like that that's the thing that we'll see in here. It's like the Lex Luthor in All-Star Superman is a guy who's visibly like obsessed with being his vision of like the best human being that he can be physically, mentally, etc. Because he's so ashamed of being put to shame by this like intergalactic interloper. This like he hates Superman so much that he's trying to prove that human beings can be as good as Superman. And just the one from really that movie is
way of showing that.
Yeah, and it's just like the man like the Man of not Man of Steel, but Batman v Superman movie has just the skinny guy who shaves his head at some point.
Who should have cast Lex Luthor? Arguably one of like the best villains ever. Let's get that one dude from Adventureland and The Social Network to play him. That'll be good. Fuck like Mark Strong or like anybody else who's would be great. Because I think Mark Strong would be an amazing Lex Luthor.
Yeah.
Shit like that. Or they could have made Samuel L. Jackson do it. It would have been all right, I guess. It would have been better than Jesse Eisenberg. It definitely would have earned an R rating. That would have been great.
Or I was talking about this last time, but like Chris Maloney from Law and Order, I thought would have been great. I mean, he's kind of balding as it is. Just have him shave the rest of the head, and you're good to go.
Have you been watching Happy at all?
I love Happy.
So good.
Also based on a comic book, also by Grant Morrison, by the way, same writer.
Looks like we're gonna read some Happy.
But I feel like Happy is like Grant Morrison trying to do Garth Ennis, which I think is interesting.
Yeah.
So yeah, we don't need you to spend an hour plus telling us where Superman came from. We know where Superman came from. If we're coming to a Superman movie, we're reading a Superman thing. We know Superman. We know about the desperate scientists. We know about the last hope of Krypton. We're good. We got it.
Unless you're like the one person that's never heard of it and you're reading this comment, what the fuck? You're more lost than anybody else that grew up with Superman. You're just like those 4 panels. You're just kind of like, what the? Wait, what happened?
Like maybe in like 1986 it would make sense. I just feel like in 2020 we have Wikipedia. You can figure out who Superman is.
It's pretty easy. Just Google Superman and see what happens.
Well, unfortunately, on the next page, we introduce a character who maybe we could have used more information on. That is a man named Leo Quintum, who
no fucking idea who this was.
Brand new character. I know he's a scientist. He's got an amazing Technicolor Dreamcoat. That's all we got.
Yeah, that's all that I got. I'm like, what the fuck? Did they just intertwine Jesus Christ Superstar? Like,
yep.
Like, what the fuck is going on? Like, who the fuck is this guy? I'm like, I feel like I'm supposed to know who this is by his introduction and stuff, and is like, but I'm also like, no fucking idea at all.
Yeah, it's supposed to be another like hero character, but he is based on the science, the science world rather than the superhero world.
I like their acronym. They were super fucking like. He went a long way to make an acronym like Project.
Project.
And I don't even know if it breaks down what it means at all. Like, I don't know.
Jimmy Olsen jokes about it later. It's like, can anybody tell me what this stands for? Anybody?
I know. I was just kind of like, and then that random ass offshoot of Jimmy Olsen becomes the director, and I'm like, what the fuck is going on with this? Like, nobody, like, he just doesn't care at all. He's just like, let's just throw random shit in here, see if people are paying attention.
So Leo Quintum has a ship which is mapping the face of the sun, which I don't entirely understand as being useful in any capacity. But I guess if you're a very powerful scientist, you don't really do everything for a reason. You're just like gonna do it to do it.
You're like super smart with a bunch of fuck around money. Like, you know what I'm gonna do today, guys? We're gonna go map the fucking sun. We're gonna fucking what? We're going to go map the sun, and we're going to be very, very intricate with it. We're going to be up there for a long time because we have fucking money to do this.
We find out from the dialogue that basically all of his assistants are cloned or genetically engineered in some capacity. And unfortunately, one of them reveals that his genetic makeup has been tampered with by Lex Luthor, who has turned him into effectively a genetic suicide bomber. He transforms into a doomsday-looking monster and starts screaming that he's going to explode.
Nice.
Superman goes to save them. He pulls the monster into the sun where he explodes safely. And unfortunately, Superman gets a horrible dose of radiation poisoning. So Superman, we find out because of this, he leaves. He finds out that he is stronger, he is faster, he is developing weird new powers that he's never had before, but unfortunately his genetic makeup is falling apart. So Superman is effectively dying. And that kind of sets off the tone of this book, is that these are the last days of Superman. They have a thing they say called the 12 Trials of Superman, which is based off of, I guess, the Is it the 12 Trials of Hercules from Greek mythology? I think he had a number of trials. I don't know if it's 12, but
they were really into trials back then, though. Everybody had fucking trials. Just a big old thing.
Yeah, so Lois Lane, Jimmy Olsen, and others are at the Daily Planet. Perry White announces that he's publishing a story calling out Lex for trying to tamper with the sun in order to cause a water shortage and profit from it. Lex announces that he did it because he realized he was getting older and Superman isn't, and that he had once promised to give up and try to work for the betterment of humanity, but he'd rather just be a dick.
Yeah.
And after that, Clark shows up the Daily Planet. He looks. So one of the things I really like about this is that when they have Clark Kent show up, he actually does not look like Superman. He looks like he actually put some effort into not looking like Superman. So he's really, like, Superman is very chest out, very like, I'm very strong, whereas like Clark Kent's like, hello. He stoops down, he pushes his gut out, he tries to look dumpy, he tries to look like he's just like this clumsy, sort of like, he was obviously like, he looks like the kind of guy who played football in high school, football in college, and then got like a desk job. Like if you, so he is. He's a big dude, but he's very clumsy. He doesn't have a lot of, he doesn't have a lot of sort of social graces, and that's kind of how they differentiate Superman being this kind of like, well-built, handsome man of tomorrow, with Clark Kent, who's like the sort of, former football player, kind of nerdy-looking dude who, probably doesn't seem like he has it together. So I really liked how they did that, how they differentiated those two characters.
More effort in than I guess Clark Kent ever has.
Yeah.
Superman, just take off his glasses.
Yeah, sort of. I know how people are going to be. I know how I'm going to trick people into thinking I'm not me.
Oh shit! Who are you?
Oh, so
Scream got hijacked. It's weird.
Scream got hijacked?
No, I was just joking.
Oh, okay.
I was like, Stream got hijacked.
That has happened before. So by Trent Reznor.
Trent Reznor is like, he avidly watches us and does not give a fuck.
Yeah.
He's sitting there each time just writing down the fucking talking shit on my guitar tone, telling me I have to get back on heroin and lose my life. You know what? Fuck these guys. I'm not releasing a new Nine Inch Nails album. Guess what? You get another soundtrack with me and Atticus Ross, and it's not even going to be good. You guys get Ghost 4 or whatever the fuck, the second Ghost they released. I haven't listened to that yet, and I didn't really like the first set of Ghosts that he did. So I heard it was pretty good. I mean, it's probably a lot better than that money grab that Ghost was.
Yeah.
You remember that weekend where he did that? He did that entire block. We made like fucking $6 million fucking dollars just off of Ghost. And the reason why he did that is because I think his label contract was up.
Oh.
His label contract was up. He needed money, or probably needed money, and they just did that all by himself. With his production team and stuff, and made a ridiculous amount of fucking money just in that weekend alone. And I remember listening to it and being like, man, I wish I could sit in a room and just bang on shit out of synth and, construct a drum kit with the drummer from Dresden Dolls and just beat on something for like 3.5 minutes, and then be like, here you guys go. It's the track. Here's Trent screaming in a shower for 30 minutes. That's it.
There's some people I know who are like listening to Ghosts and actually calling out things, because like it was very much like, no, this is a preset in a VST that I own. Like this is absinthe. This is an absinthe preset you get with
Me and a buddy of mine, we used to work on music a lot together. We were partners and work on music back like 2008, 9 when Ghost came out. We sat down and we effectively turned this one bedroom apartment I had. I'm with an ex of mine, turned into this big old recording studio. So we had like half stacks and synths and guitars everywhere. And we sat there one night, we're listening to it, and he's like, He's got this hair up. It's like, we could recreate this and make it better. So I remember I gotta find the project. It was on MySpace. We called it Spirit. And basically
spirits.
the first like 4 or 5 tracks and put it on an EP, and it sounded better. Like really spirits, you know, and we're like, oh, well, this like, sounds like Night Show Ghost. I'm like, does it? Does it? It was pretty easy to make. I remember them trying to make this big ordeal of like, we're gonna have Brian from Dresden Dolls. He had this big old interview about the process of writing for it. It was just like, man, basically you could have just summed it up with like 2 sentences. Trent Reznor called you and you build a drum set out of trash cans. That's it. But there was like this big fucking article about his, oh, we did all this stuff. I'm like, no, you sat in a room with a drum set, trash can, mic'd it, and just beat on it for a while. That's what you did. Art did not happen that day. It was it was ridiculous.
So after that, Lex Luthor is arrested. He actually gives himself up when the cops show up, and then Clark reveals to Lois that he is Superman, and that kind of brings us to the end of the first issue.
Mm-hmm.
Kind of, I feel in general, pretty good setup for what you're going to be telling here. It kind of sets up all the individual players, and yeah, it just it brings you into the crazier world that they're going to be.
Joseph in a Technicolor fucking Dreamcoat there, like it was all pretty. Like, okay, I can get behind this, and then just that first bit, I'm like, what the fuck? Like because I'm pretty sure you don't really see much of him until like probably near the end. I think
About halfway through, they start bringing him back in like the Jimmy Olsen episode, and
that Jimmy Olsen one comes up pretty quick.
Yeah,
I remember that's like segueing into that. Like, there's no segues in this fucking thing. It's just basically, boom, here you go. Boom, here you go. Boom, here you go. Here's a new story. So that was pretty fun.
We have a comment from Axioko. Good job, folks. Love the show. Not because I'm biased or anything. Thank you very much.
Oh.
Is that friend of yours or?
That's Courtney.
Oh, awesome. Hey, Courtney. From there, issue 2, Superman shows Lois the Fortress of Solitude, including the Superman robots.
He did.
So he has the Superman robots. He has a baby sun eater. He has a communication system where various future Superman can broadcast into the fortress. Lois at one point meets the unknown Superman of the year 4500, who will be an important character in a later issue of this book. So one of the things that really this brought up is that this is very like 50s to 70s Superman. So this is not only a Superman, a superhero, he's also a super genius. So he can create these robots, he can build all of this, mostly using like Kryptonian technology, but you have to be smart in order to understand this. And it also kind of brings up that he mentions Batman a couple times in this book, which is interesting because they never show Batman.
Batman
yeah, like
a forbidden room, the little like chessboard looking thing.
Yeah, that's true. But yeah, he talks about Batman a lot, how they really respect each other despite the fact that they have completely different ways of looking at the world. And I think that's like Grant Morrison also did a pretty legendary run on Batman that maybe we'll get to at some point. But he has a really interesting look at Batman, which is very the concept of like Bat God, where he has a contingency plan for a contingency plan. Like he's got everything planned. He has everything in order, and he can almost predict what you're doing before you can do it. Where I think like his take on Superman at least is very hopeful. He's not like predicting what you're going to do. He's hoping that you do the right thing.
What a great
and then reacting when you don't.
He's like that nice uncle. You can do the best. I believe in you.
I honestly, I kind of like that as a thing for Superman. It's sort of your nice uncle who wants to help.
Come to my fortress of solitude, fucking 90 miles away, where I have like the fucking Titanic. Which could I have given that back to society or museum? No, it's now my day room, which is great.
So
Which apparently I didn't even reading through it. I didn't realize it until I saw it was referenced a couple times. I'm like, wait, fucking what? He brought the Titanic up, and they dined in the Titanic.
yeah. So one of the things that keeps coming up here, which I think I really thought was pretty funny, is the idea of no, I need you to know that I'm Superman. Me, Clark Kent, I am Superman, and everyone's like,
Yeah, like the
no.
entire time, she's just like, fuck that. Like Clark Kent's a dumbass.
Yeah, it's like that
Basically,
dumbass from Kansas. No.
fuck Kansas. Like, wow, okay. First off, that's Superman you're talking to. Secondly, Kansas is probably that bad, but all right.
Yeah, and they got into it later with Lex Luthor. Lex Luthor also would never believe that. It's like, wait,
No, like Lex, like he completely just like fucking just Lex has zero fucking idea that he's talking to Superman. And even
like,
comments on his eyebrows or something. You have like a Superman swoop or whatever and stuff like that. You know,
yeah.
you could be because you have that, you know, stocky build if you like to carry like so. But just like this whole like range of like, I think there was a moment where he's like, he could be Superman. And he's like, no, not this dumbass. He's like, all right, fuck. We get it. Clark Kent's a fucking moron who suddenly can, you know, keep calling you out on your shit and getting you arrested via the newspaper. But all right.
So she ends up walking by a lab which is wide open while one of the Superman robots called Robot 7 is working on something. We find out later in the issue that she is exposed to a some sort of gas that the robot accidentally let out, and she's made paranoid by it. So she suspects that Superman has brought her to this fortress of solitude, likely in order to force her to birth. And I'm going to quote. Can't remember if it was in Ed Wood, but I can't remember the movie it was from. But a race of atomic supermen who will conquer the world.
I was wondering, like, what the fuck that was, what was going on with that, why she was being super paranoid. I was like, reading this, wow, Lois Lane's become a paranoid fucking psycho. Yeah. Like, just went straight for the kryptonite gun. And I'm like, oof, like, okay.
Yeah, so we'll find out later on what that was about. Yeah. But something has interfered with Robot Number 7 and Robot Number 7's ability to function properly.
That should have been the name of the show. Something has interfered with Robot Number 7. You got to use that somewhere. It sounds pretty fucked up. Stop interfering with robots.
Maybe we do a subcast of this, like a midweek stream. It could be called "Something Is Interviewed with Robot Number 7."
We just need to get see if we can find a mannequin of Robot Number 7 and just put him in the stream.
So, she runs around the Fortress of the Gun. She stumbles on Superman, and he reveals he's making her a costume, and he's come up with a super serum to give her the powers of Superman for 24 hours. Which leads us into issue 3, where we see that actually unfold. So, first couple of pages of issue 3. Dinosaur Men. Dinosaur Men. Dinosaur Men attacking Metropolis,
which was pretty fucking cool.
Yeah, if there's one thing that I'm sad about is that I don't think we've seen Dinosaur Men before, and I don't think we've seen Dinosaur Men after this. We need more Dinosaur Men.
We need more Kroll, apparently.
Yeah. So they attack Metropolis. Lois and Superman show up to fight. And unfortunately, the fight is interrupted by two other heroes, Samson and Atlas. So Samson and Atlas those are two names that have been used by other DC heroes in the past, but they have nothing to do with these characters. These are brand new characters. This was just effectively to here are some heroes that can show up that Superman can just hate because they're assholes. So these two characters, basically brand new. There's a different character called Atlas who was in the Superman books a couple years after. Oh, I think back in the 70s, but also a couple years after this. But very different Atlas from the one here. Samson, I think, is based off of the biblical Samson. He mentions about his only weakness being a pair of scissors. The biblical Samson being a guy who is super strong, aside from the fact that if he cut his hair, he lost all his abilities. They both decide to challenge Superman to a feat of strength for Lois's affection. Lois and Superman do not seem particularly interested at this time.
So this is the bro down part of the comic.
Yeah. This is the
You have a lady? Oh, she has superpowers? Let's fight each other for her affection, because that's always worked.
Yeah, this is the toxic masculinity part of our book.
It gets pretty wild too. They get pretty fucking salty. The best part's coming up though.
So yeah, they end up beating up the Dinosaur Man and returning them to the center of the Earth, where they're the ruler of the Dinosaur Men claims that Krull was actually goaded into attacking Metropolis by Samson. Superman promises to take care of that, but before he can, Samson decides to give Lois a necklace.
The necklace.
Yeah, a necklace which unfortunately he has stolen from a being known as Adam Hotep, who resides in the 80th century and is none too pleased.
No, we've all seen The Mummy, so we know what's going to happen.
Yeah. So
Brendan Fraser is going to come save us.
It's revealed in the in the scope of all this that Samson and Atlas are both from the future. So they're time travelers. They like to go back to Superman's time to give him a bunch of shit because, why wouldn't you?
It's like the frat house of time travelers. Yeah, let's go back to like the 70s and fuck with that demigod from another planet. That'll be fun.
Yeah, but Samson unfortunately reveals to Superman that he knows his big secret. He pulls out a copy of the Daily Planet, which has Superman dead headline. He knows that Superman is in fact dying, and that even if Lois isn't interested in him right now, he's not going to be around forever, and he'll be able to show up whenever he likes. Give him a little wink.
Super like toxic.
Yeah.
This entire thing is so great.
So after this, Lois seems a little bit more interested in hanging out with Samson. Has a little bit of a bad reaction to Superman claiming to be Clark Kent, which he still doesn't believe. Which I think is one of my favorite running gags in this whole thing is that nobody believes that Clark Kent is Superman. Before they can do anything, before they can do any tests of strength or any weird triple dates. The Ultra Sphinx shows up. I think the Ultra Sphinx is a follower of Adam Hotep from the 80th century. The Ultra Sphinx shows up to retrieve the necklace and to get what is owed. He asks Superman a riddle in order to have basically with Lois's fate on the line, and his riddle being what happens when the irresistible force meets the immovable object.
The Sweet Jane's Addiction song is what that is. But not the answer here.
Superman replies, "They surrender," and the Sphinx is like, "All right, that's pretty good. All right, we'll give you that." And lets Lois go. with the Ultra Sphinx gone, he is unfortunately still left with these two chuckleheads that have decided to start hitting on his girlfriend. So Superman agrees to arm wrestle Atlas and Samson. He breaks out Samson's arm, and then he breaks Atlas's. And the contest seems to cause major seismic changes on the island that they're on. It is. We then cut to an issue of the Daily Planet where it shows that despite Atlas having his arm broken, he did in fact manage to get it on with a nurse at the hospital he was taken to. So I guess everything's all right there. From there, Superman and Lois kiss on the moon and then sit on top of a skyscraper while they wait for her powers to wear off. It appears that Superman is about to ask her to marry him, but she falls asleep in his arms. So, cute little ending. And that brings us to issue 4, the Jimmy Olsen extravaganza.
It was probably one of my favorite parts of this. It was just so wild and hilarious.
So, going into this, what do you know about Jimmy Olsen aside from the fact that he's Superman's best pal?
That's about it. I didn't realize he was a cross-dresser, it looks like. And like all of that, I just knew he was like Superman's friend. Like I said, I didn't read a lot of Superman comics. I didn't read a handful growing up, and then just all I knew Superman, Jimmy Olsen was kind of like his bumbling, like, I'm your best friend.
Yeah, so that was a lot of sort of more Silver Age-y stuff.
Yeah.
So I don't know if you're familiar with Jack Kirby at all.
Mm-hmm.
So Jack Kirby is he was initially a Marvel artist, and then he became a writer, and then he became sort of one of the strongest like science fiction style writers in that era. He is his exploits are legendary, shall we say. He co-created the Fantastic Four.
Yeah, he's done a lot of cool shit. I know who Jack Kirby is. Like, Jack Kirby is phenomenal in what he does.
Yeah, so when he left Marvel to move over to DC, DC effectively gave him whatever books that he wanted to. So he decided he was going to create these characters called the New Gods. And that's where characters like Darkseid and like Orion and Mr. Miracle came from. But one of the books that he took over at the time was Jimmy Olsen, Superman's pal, which was kind of like it was basically about this like roving boy reporter. And he turned Jimmy Olsen from just being kind of like a goofy, like, kid reporter character into actually being a very, very strange, quasi science fiction character where he will still go and do all of these like investigations, but there's also a chance he might transform into a turtle monster.
What the fuck?
And that's where a lot of the inspiration for this issue came from. He would do
like a day in the life of. He's referencing a day in the life with Jimmy Olsen.
Yeah, and it's sort of that, and it's like he would do a lot of costume stuff. I think Grant Morrison wrote a little bit into it. So like Grant Morrison was pretty open about like he I don't think he gets into it too much anymore, but when he was younger was very into cross-dressing. To the point where he wrote a character into his sort of one of his like magnum opus kind of works, The Invisibles, which I talked about earlier, as being a trans character, and this effectively used a lot of his experiences.
Oh, nice.
Being because like in the late 80s, early 90s, there's a lot less of a hard line in between people who cross-dress and people who identify as transgender. So he wrote a lot of his own experiences being a cross-dresser into this trans character's life, which is like, it's interesting. It doesn't really hold up, socially, but it's also like, it's better than anyone was doing at the time. So yeah, Jimmy Olsen getting into his, hanging out with his lady friend there, showing off some of his costumes. You see a big box of outfits in the back, one of which is a turtle costume, which I alluded to. So because Leo Quinton is going off world. Jimmy Olsen is going to take over project for the day and then write about it in his column for the Daily Planet. He goes to observe a portal to a thing called the Underverse, which will come back later. Jimmy almost falls in and has to be saved by Superman. In the process of saving him, Superman finds a piece of kryptonite, which is jet black. It's the first time he has come across a different type of kryptonite, I believe, in this story. Back in the Silver Age, there was a million different colors of kryptonite, and they all did different things to Superman. But black kryptonite in this continuity apparently makes him evil. He talks a little bit about green kryptonite. He seems to be completely immune to it now because of the sun and the damage the sun did on his body, which is...
yeah, like Lois blasted him with that kryptonite blaster, and he was just like, oh, whatever.
Yeah.
Stop playing around, baby. Put that away.
So, because of the effect of the Black K, he tries to kill Jimmy Olsen.
Really? Go ahead. Sorry. No, go ahead. Sorry, Alf.
Yeah, he ends up fighting his way out of the facility, and he goes to start tearing up Metropolis. He starts screaming to try to find where Lois Lane is. And he starts talking like a character we will see showing up later, Bizarro. With the me am. He doesn't get into the backwards speak yet, but he starts talking very much like a Bizarro.
I really like reading through it. You kind of, his text bubbles gradually get black as he's.
Yeah.
I like that a lot. Kind of an indicator, he's kind of like a lighter gray, gets a little darker, then gets almost dark, and goes black when he's going full on Psycho, and it's really cool. Actually seeing that kind of emphasis on his character's transformation, though, hey, so it's fucked up Superman. He's talking in black now.
So Jimmy follows him, and despite he's given a bunch of different options as to what to do with a rogue Superman, and he takes one of them. Project's least favorite option, which was transforming himself into Doomsday. So Doomsday being the initial villain from the Death of Superman, before it moves into the Dawn of Superman. Doomsday is, they acknowledge it here, but Doomsday is one of the only beings in the in the universe with the capacity to just straight up kill Superman, which I think is I don't know. It's interesting to have that level of power in. If you're talking about Superman, who is a character who I think, even though I like the character, you can quite easily state it's this is an overpowered character.
Well, his greatest superpower is plot armor. He's ridiculously powerful in Doomsday. Even though Doomsday kills him, it's still plot armor. He still comes back. He still Superman doesn't die, and so it was really cool because I did remember reading The Death of Superman and being like, oh shit, he's getting his ass kicked, and then oh, he's dead, oh, he comes back, oh fuck. But Doomsday's always been a kind of a cool character. I didn't like how, I guess I must have watched more of that stupid fucking movie than I remember, because I remember they had Doomsday and that Batman vs Superman. Wow, that was terrible.
Yeah, they had Zod become Doomsday, which I always thought was very...
Yeah, it was in what universe does that happen? Zod's his own piece of shit character. We don't need to confuse that with Doomsday, but here we are.
Yeah. Jimmy, as Doomsday, is able to overpower Superman pretty easily. The black kryptonite is making Superman evil, and as Superman becomes more evil, he seems to become weaker. Agatha from Project uses the Superman alert watch that Jimmy has to send him a psychic, basically a psychic trigger to remind him oh, hey, you're not Doomsday, you are Jimmy Olsen, and Jimmy comes back from being Doomsday pretty quickly. Project contains a black K, and Jimmy uses Project's resources to chisel the words "I love Lucy," which is the name of his girlfriend, into the moon in order to impress her. So a solid use of resources.
Code though, he has this Technicolor code. It was so great. He just mobs around in that today and carves his name into the fucking, or calls "I love Lucy" into the fucking moon.
That sort of sets up Jimmy Olsen. He, he comes out of there. He's no longer the head of Project, but he does get to keep one of those amazing Technicolor Dreamcoats.
I mean, we should all have one. I think by next stream, we should each have a Technicolor Dreamcoat and 80s slim visors. What are you drinking over there, Greg? Yeah. A bunch of tequila. Yeah. Tequila and Pog.
Oh, great! Yeah, we had some cider over here, but I was requested to leave the cider to my partner. So
I was explaining to my friend the other day. I was like, "What's your podcast like?" Well, it's really just me drinking a lot. Greg has most of the information. We just see me get more and more intoxicated as we talk about music, and then we really just ramble on about Queen of the Damned for like an hour and a half.
Yeah, it's the Queen of the Damned thing is, I think, the most ridiculous, because I think the last time I watched that movie was maybe in 2008. Like, there was over a decade in between me watching that movie and today.
I remember being a kid, read all of Anne Rice's shit, like, oh my God, they're making a Queen of the Damned. It's going to be amazing. I remember getting it and still trying to be excited as I watch it. But my like, was I in middle school at the time? Almost high school? Probably middle school. Like early 2000 or some shit. And just being there, like, crushed inside knowing that this is a terrible, horrible piece of shit film that in no way, shape, or form encapsulates all the things I love from the books, other than the supporting characters looked like who they were supposed to look like via the book description, but Stuart Townsend and the main characters did not.
Yeah. And like, that movie was like 50% the Queen of the Damned, but also like 50% the Vampire Lestat, and then 100% terrible.
Mm-hmm. Which I'm fine if you want to like kind of merge the two, but really you should have just did the Vampire Lestat, and then you should have done Queen of the Damned, and then you should have just fired whoever the fuck you got for Lestat and got somebody. You could have brought Tom Cruise crazy ass back. Yeah, he would have sucked, but it would not have sucked as much as Stuart Townsend sucked.
Yeah. Was one of the funniest things that I think, like, Anne Rice was very adamant, like, Tom Cruise does not look anything like I intended Lestat to look.
But he played the best Lestat, so
yeah, that was the thing. It was like, she didn't believe in him as an actor, but then she saw him and was like, oh yeah, he's exactly right.
Yeah, like, especially like if you would have got Tom Cruise at early 2000s, because that's about the time that Oprah shit happened and stuff, I think 2 years ago. So crazy Tom Cruise, balls deep in Scientology and being weird and short, put him as Lestat with a fucking his blonde wig again. Like, it would have been better than what we got. And the probably film would have got more funding too, because Tom Cruise is in it. So, God, that was a terrible fucking film. Worse than League of Extraordinary Gentlemen.
Oh God, we might have to do a League of Extraordinary Gentlemen comparison with the movie.
We should. Let's get really drunk. What we should do is one of these days when the event stops happening, convince one of like the local theaters, you guys should play a double feature of League of Extraordinary Gentlemen and Queen of the Damned, and we'll just get really drunk and watch it. Like, take notes. We'll live stream the event. Like, so here we are, like a bottle and a half of tequila and whiskey deep, and Stuart Townsend just won't get off the fucking screen. No matter what we do, it's just Stuart Townsend's up there. Like, we get pretty trashed from the first movie. We don't realize it's segued into Queen of the Damned or whatever. And we still think it's the name of where the fuck Shark got to. What the fuck is this?
There's more vampires in this than I remember. I thought there was only one vampire.
Why is Dorian Gray shirtless? Ugh. You got a haircut halfway through this movie.
That's yeah. I mean, the League of Extraordinary Gentlemen booked a movie like I don't know why. Like, we're just gonna add Dorian Gray. We're just gonna add Tom Sawyer.
I don't remember like him being in the. I haven't read the comics in a long fucking time, but I don't remember Dorian Gray being in it. But also, if you make a movie that bad that Sean Connery like fucking retires from acting, that was like the thread for him. He's not to mention all the the overly aggressive sex scenes in James Bond. No, or like I don't know, another terrible fucking Sean Connery movie like The Rock or something, which wasn't that bad, but it was still Michael Bay and Nick Cage being crazy. But like that's the movie. That's the movie. I bet I can that this is accurate. You see Sean Connery at the table read for like, oh, it should be a great film. He's all looking at it. He looks up and he sees fucking Stuart Townsend across the way, and he's all like, "Yep, no, this is it for old Sean Connery."
I honestly I appreciate The Rock because it's a movie like you can watch, and if you just don't listen to the character's name, you can basically just pretend that Sean Connery is an old James Bond, and I love that.
Still my favorite role of his is when he's playing the Spaniard in The Highlander. Like Sean Connery shows up to set, he's like, "I thought we got a Spanish guy to do this." No, you got me. Can you like give us a Spanish accent? Fuck you. I guess. Okay. How much are we paying him? How many millions of dollars are we giving Sean Connery to do this? Like he brought in his own costume and sword.
He's like, this is just my walking around sword.
Where'd you get the Spanish Inquisition costume? I brought it from home. Why do you have that?
This is the outfit I take to Russian.
It's like I remember being a kid watching it, just being like, just confused. I'm like, is this what people from Spain sound like? They're all close to Scotland, are they? Like Sean Connery did not give a fuck at all that entire film.
No, whatsoever. I mean, it's like he played a Russian in the Red October, right? It's like it's Sean Connery. It's never not Sean Connery.
I know, like he's not a method actor at all. He is a character actor at best, and that character is just Sean Connery after 2 belts of whiskey, and
It's like Tommy Lee Jones is a similar one. I mean, like Tommy Lee Jones will joke about it. It's like, yeah, this is what I do. I play the role as me. This is like I'm not here to disappear into the concept of acting. I will deliver everything in this script to the best of my ability, but I'm not doing a voice. I'm not playing anything outside of like Tommy Lee Jones, vaguely Southern drawl, gruff guy. That's it. That's all I got.
And then the camera pans, and the interviewer turns out to be Gary Oldman. What the fuck? Gary Oldman. We need more Gary Oldman. Gary Oldman could have played Lestat, and it would have been better. I wouldn't have a question.
At one point, he would have been a great Lestat. I don't know about anymore.
That was a handful of years after Dracula. He would have found a way. Gary Oldman finds a way. Like, here's a blonde wig, and we need you to be shirtless. Make it happen. You're a vampire rock star.
Yeah.
I want you to take Kid and Nancy, Dracula, and this table of cocaine. Make it happen. Also, Aaliyah's in this. Have fun.
Issue 5. Issue 5 is a Lex Luthor issue, which this is one of my favorite issues of the whole book. Actually, is the prison riot. Yeah, this was a pretty fun. It was the most
straightforward kind of a thing. It wasn't like I had to like research or go back in time to find out what the fuck Grant Morrison did. This was pretty much like he's in prison and here's the riot kind of a thing.
Yep.
I kind of appreciate this Lex Luthor though. He's this is a scene where he's I'm like, you're not Superman. Just making fun of like Clark Kent the entire time, backhanded compliments while also acknowledging that, you know, he is a solid ass reporter and stuff, but you know, still slapping the shit out of him the entire time.
It's like you write like a poet, but you can't tie your own shoes.
Yeah. But I also like how they just give Lex Luthor like science gear. Like there's this genius who just like sabotaged the fucking sun to profit off of what was it, water or some shit?
Yeah. Oh yeah, we're gonna let you build robots.
Yeah. Whoever put you in high security prison. Oh shit, you want tools and stuff? All right, don't pull an Iron Man on us. All right, he'll be all right. And like he builds like these fucking robots and shit. He's just Lex Luthor. I mean, he's not in prison. He's basically just in a wing of his house at this point.
Yeah.
Like he just walks by the guards, just being like, "Whatever, do something."
So the whole thing is kind of predicated on an interview that Clark is doing with Lex, and in the middle of it, basically, the Parasite, which is an old school Superman villain, who his whole deal is that he can drain the energy. So he drains your life force if you're a regular person. He drains your powers if you're a superhero, and just kind of. Him, because of Superman's advanced stage of like empowerment by the sun, just from being around him is suddenly like, growing 15 times his own size, which is interesting. It also gets him to the point where he's too big and he starts like crushing himself, which gives Lex the opportunity to like stomp a mud hole. Lex, there's a really kind of like funny comedy of errors that happens here, where in the middle of trying to like save and protect Lex Luthor, Clark is also like trying to help him, like trying to like hide the fact that he's saving him, but saving him all the same, which I thought is like pretty funny. Like Lex Luthor just being like the egotist that he is just. Hey, yeah, my gun totally worked against this giant monster.
Science!
Yeah.
My 45 killed this thing.
But in the middle of this, we kind of find out that one of the robots that Lex has created has actually drilled an escape route out of the prison that Lex, for whatever reason, has decided not to use.
Waste of labor.
We meet Lex Luthor's niece, and I think her name is Nostalgia. I don't know how it's supposed to be pronounced. But she says to just call her Nasty, which is great.
A bamboo and Superman.
And in the context of this episode, or in the process of this episode, we learn that Lex Luthor pencils in his own eyebrows. Yeah. Which I think for the amount that Lex Luthor is talking about, because he chides Clark for using shorthand as a way to take notes. It's like, is that anything is that a technique for a man to use? Meanwhile, he's putting in his eyebrows.
I'll learn how to do this. I still love the whole like right before they meet her, the whole baboon and a super. In a Superman T-shirt.
Have you ever seen? Oh, okay. Have you ever seen the William Friedkin movie Cruising? I feel like you might have with that response.
I saw the board game.
There's a board game based on that movie?
Oh, no, I got this. Hold on, I'll send it to you.
Okay.
This is amazing. But basically, the one with what's his face? Fucking what's his name? Al Pacino.
That's the one, yeah. So there's one scene in the movie where there's like a police. So the main character is an undercover police officer, and he has to like keep up the pretense that he's not an undercover police officer because he's trying to sort of infiltrate the queer leather culture, and he is obviously, especially in like 1978 or whenever the hell this movie was made, not the greatest relationship with the police department. So he has to keep up the pretense that he's not actually a cop. And at one point there, he and a couple of other people are in an interrogation room, and at one point, a like 7 foot tall mustachioed man wearing nothing but a jock strap and a cowboy hat walks into the interrogation room, punches each one of them in the face, and walks out. And they never give an explanation as to why that is. And then, like, I remember reading online, why was that in there? And like somebody just responded, because like if you're going to use like unreasonable force in an interrogation, you absolutely want to throw something in like, yes, and then a 7 foot tall black dude with like a mustache and a cowboy hat wearing nothing but a jock strap wandered into the interrogation room and punched us all in the face. Because like if you ever sued the police department, that would sound insane. So this is kind of one of those situations where he's using a similar technique, which is he
film about trawling for anonymous trysts in New York action. The Dark.
Here you go. Here you go.
So there's
I bet we could play that too. I bet we could air that commercial. Yeah.
I mean, I'm sure Twitch would let us.
Yeah, there's nothing wrong with Twitch. Yeah, that'll be fine.
All right. So this is a. Is this the? Oh, this is okay. This is like an actual board game. All right, I'm gonna share my screen. I'm gonna play the.
Trent Reznor, don't take us down this time.
Yeah. Hold on a second here. I'm gonna. Let me activate my second screen here. All right, here we go. All right. I'm going to add this in. All right, here we go.
The best thing in the world. Lock eyes. I lock. Hinky code.
Oh my God.
So we have a new board game we're going to test out.
Oh, this is. All right, I'm gonna. Oh, let's go ahead and remove that from the fucking screen. That's amazing. I'm assuming is that a parody commercial or is that an actual board
parody commercial?
Oh,
that was a board game.
So I think that we just lost like all of our
additional strangers sold separately.
Oh God, yeah. So
did we lose all of our viewers?
Almost, yeah. I think we lost all of our viewers. Sorry, this is a pro leather podcast. I'm gonna throw that out there. This is we would like to let you know that we all have solid like daddy energy, and we need you to respect that.
The next stream we're gonna be leathered out.
Anyway, moving on. Lex has one of his robots drill an escape route out of the prison. Nastya lets him out of lets Clark out, but Lex for some reason stays behind. Although it is revealed that Lex has penciled out eyebrows, which he does very badly.
Lex does this weird smile a handful of times throughout this and it's very weird and creepy, and with the eyebrow it makes it worse.
And then the next issue in Smallville. So this is one of the sadder issues of this, where you kind of don't really realize what is going on until maybe the end. So Clark is with his family. You kind of assume from the start that he is visiting his family and friends, but it is later on revealed that the Clark that we're seeing there is actually Clark before he left Smallville. This is almost Superboy era Superman, before he moves on to Metropolis. Clark goes to visit his parents and finds that they have taken on three lodgers who are going to help with the harvest. They are Cal Kent, who is future Superman. There is the unknown,
not Superman at all.
Sorry?
No, just reading this, I'm like, these guys obviously aren't super in any way, shape, or form, even with his. What is that, a Hitler Youth haircut? What does he have?
Unfortunately, it's the same haircut I got going on here.
Oh, shit.
That's some, I don't know.
It's about to get weird.
I have the unfortunate combination of a head that doesn't look so great with all of my hair shaved off and hair that just goes like that. So
mine's weird shit. I just gotta tell you, my mohawk has gotten fucking long, and at this point, 2 years, 3 years of growing it out, I really should have grown more of it out instead of this strip. But
yeah,
what can you do?
Yeah, I got into the thing 6 or 7 months ago, where it's I'm gonna grow it all out. I'm gonna do it, and then a few months into doing that, when it's
fuck that.
My hair is all Neil Gaiman'd out, where it's it's a helmet which goes back at the sides.
You gotta get some hair product and actually make an actual helmet out of it. Make it show up on stream. What the fuck?
I was experimenting with everything. I was trying to straighten it. I was using Brill cream. I was using pomade. I was using all these different versions, different things. And I was no, this is kind of what I got going. Unless I really want to, hold on. I don't have a good neck to head thing going on, which is just unless I really want to embrace just the weirdness that is my head shape. This is what I got going. This is what I got. This is what it works. He's there along with the unknown Superman of year 4500, which is a character we met earlier, and then another interesting character who is Klizenplix, who is loosely based on another Superman character called Mr. Mixelpitalik, I believe it's pronounced. Okay. Who is basically, he is an eighth dimensional, he's this weird little gremlin looking man who is
gremlin looking man.
Yeah, he wears a little top hat. He wears he smokes a cigar. He floats around.
Arnie they kidnapped and convinced to help him.
So he's Superman's version of the Great Gazoo, if you remember the Great Gazoo. Yeah,
I remember that.
So Yeah, so like the Superman of, I think he's the Superman of the fifth dimension. So I think he's like he's a version of Mr. Mixelpidlick, who is a Superman, Superman now. So they show up and they are farmhands, but secretly they are hunting a character called Chronovore, who is a monster that eats time. Like he'll steal people's life force, he'll steal people, time from people. Um, it's very Doctor Who.
Really digging the Superman with the Wi-Fi signal for his thing. They just completely abandoned the whole S. Like, nah, dude, Wi-Fi. When it's all lit up, I got great signal. Sorry, you can't do much. I think they got his doggo though. That's
yeah. So Crypto the Super Hound. Yeah, that was also another like Silver Age character or Silver Age idea, where it's like they gave every superhero like an animal sidekick. I think there was there was Crypto the Super Hound, there was Ace the Bat Hound, there was Beppo the Super Monkey. There was a few others, if I remember correctly. Oh yeah, there's if you remember from the Super Friends, it was the Wonder Twins who had Gleek the monkey.
Fucking monkey. Looks like the Super Hound is like an Irish Wolfhound or some homeless shaggy dog they injected with with Superman powers. I want a pet. And now
yeah, it's gonna be like the last like game of fetch you ever play in your life. Is this dog like grabbing the branch, running back to you, and literally jumping through your body, exploding you into just like a mist.
So now we got a super parakeet because dog went through like 3 of our kids. We have a parakeet, but
like the parakeet like shitting in its cage just like crushes the earth.
Supersonic speeds. Like his shit is just like it's like a shotgun blast went through it. Just holes fucking everywhere. It's insane. Like we couldn't find a better animal to turn into a super pet.
Well, that's the thing. Like a super parakeet, like if you want to defeat it, you just like throw a blanket over it and convince it it's night.
What the fuck is going on? Must be nighttime. I swear to God, it was like 12 p.m. Oh, no, time to sleep.
So Superman goes to fight the Chronovore. The other Supermen try to stop him, but they fail. So they're not exactly like explaining why they're trying to stop him. They just are trying to stop him from fighting the Chronovore. They don't, and I feel like the amount like they're fighting him is really like it's really interesting because when he actually makes it to when he actually beats up the one Superman and he gets to the Chronovore and he starts fighting the Chronovore, he realizes that Jonathan Kent's heart has stopped beating. So his dad's heart has actually stopped beating. And like he realizes that, when you fight like a thing like the Chronovore, it immediately steals 3 minutes of your life. And those were the 3 minutes in which your dad died. As like his like dedication of fighting this monster, technically speaking, like those are the 3 minutes he could have like saved his dad from having a heart attack. So that's fucked up. That's really sad.
They really Uncle Ben the shit out of this.
Yeah. So after Jonathan Kent's funeral, the unknown Superman reveals himself to be the Superman that we've been following the whole time. We realize that he's the Superman that we've been seeing so far has been the Superman that before he left Smallville, which is like an interesting reveal, especially considering like the unknown Superman was very confused as to who J-Lo was, whereas we in 2020 are well aware of who J-Lo is, right?
We should be.
She was on the Super Bowl halftime show.
Who's J-Lo?
In issue 7, Quinsum is exploring the Underverse, and he finds a large life form, but we don't find out specifically what this is yet. Meanwhile, Superman is freeing his pet Sun Eater. This will come back at a later date. So the Sun Eater is, I don't know if this is an older character. I mostly know this monster from a DC crossover in the 90s called Final Night, where there was actually a monster called the Sun Eater that extinguished the sun, and the entire DC universe was plunged into night. So everybody, Superman lost all his powers because he
Like
is
Superman's fucked.
well, or at least, sorry, no, I take it back. Superman at the time did not lose his powers because he was electric blue Superman, which is a thing we'll talk about at a later time. But there was, if you ever look up electric blue Superman, you'll see what they were trying to do in the 90s. And it was a terrible, it was a cool costume. It was a terrible idea.
Look it up. Let's see. Electric blue Superman.
Yeah.
Superman red, Superman blue.
Superman red, Superman blue was the second version of that. But yeah.
Jesus Christ.
Yeah. So let me just see
like
if I can.
Pokemon red and blue. Which one are you gonna go? Electric Boogaloo. Re-examine Superman's electric blue year.
Yeah, so he is a
powers, new home, new powers.
Yeah, so he had he had electric powers. I'll since we seem to not be having the same issues as we did before, I'll go ahead and I'll just share my screen here.
Don't take us down.
And hold on, here we go. So yeah, I honestly, as far as like a costume goes, especially for the 90s, this is very tasteful. It's a good costume. I don't hate it, but I don't think that it's a bad costume for Superman.
We're like the Torch almost.
Yeah.
The Human Torch.
Yeah. I think so. I would agree with that. So it's a it was a thing where they were like, we're trying to freshen up Superman, so we'll give him some new powers. We'll give him a new costume. We'll give him a new look. We'll give him some new powers. He has a new thing where, like, if he's in Clark Kent mode, he's not actually in. He's not invulnerable in Clark Kent mode. There's some interesting ideas, but it wasn't good. It wasn't what you want from a Superman comic. So the Sun Eater was involved in Final Night, which was a crossover where a lot of people a lot of people in the DC universe had to deal with the fact that there wasn't a sun for like a month. There was, Batman in Gotham was like, well, if there's no sun, then probably there's going to be a lot of snow and things like that. So Gotham was really snowy for a few months. If you remember, do you ever read Hitman?
The Hitman comics?
Yeah, Garth Ennis.
I don't think so. I think I played the game because that's what the game's based off of, right?
No, the game is a different thing. Hitman was a.
I gotta look at it now.
Yeah, so he was a hitman based out of Gotham City. He technically had X-ray vision, but he hated using it because he thought it was cheating. And
superpower, but it's fucking cheating, so I don't use it.
Cheating, and he hated it. He hated using it. It was a, kind of a funny take on.
I haven't read this at all. Like this, I like Garth Ennis a lot. So
yeah, there was he would it was mostly based out of a bar. Like it was almost like It's Always Sunny in Gotham. Like it was based out of a bar. There would be like a really cruddy superhero called Six Pack whose superpower was incredible drunkenness. And he would have tab. Yeah, he would have a thing where he would just wander in wearing a Batman suit, and where they were like, where the hell did you get a Batman suit? And he was like, oh, I just found it. It's like, you need to put that back where you found it. He's gonna come here. We don't need that.
He's gonna come here. Get the fuck out. I'm not gonna do that now. Holy shit! Let me see.
Yeah, the Hitman is great, but yeah, they had a Final Night crossover, couple of issues with Hitman where they were like, well, what happens when it's night all the time and there's no sun? Oh, vampires. So it's like, okay, we're just gonna have Hitman versus vampires.
What about Blade was Marvel? That's right. I'm not going to Blade that. Oh, okay, I do see Hitman series.
Yeah,
Is there any
Hitman's
particular one that nice? Any particular run?
I would just say like the first
Greatest
kind of
hit?
start with the first trade, I guess. Yeah. Yeah, but that's good. It's Garth Ennis. He's playing. He's playing the type. He's doing an Irish American assassin. It's very violent. It has a lot of it has a lot of problematic content. It's good. Garth Ennis run.
Through that, I got I forgot a while back. I got a Lobo slipcover collection. We'll have to go through some Lobo.
Yeah, I think probably after next week, let's start talking about Lobo. I think we can. Yeah, your friend Tommy's into Lobo, right?
Tommy in on that. Yeah, I know he's interested in jumping on the stream and talking about Lobo, Conan, Jack Kirby. He probably would have lost the shit. Like, what, Jack Kirby? Let me tell you about Jack Kirby, and talk for like 3 fucking hours about Jack Kirby.
I don't mind turning this into the Kirby cast.
Yeah, no, that's fine. But there was a run though that I need to pick it up because I don't have it. But there's a run called Lobo's Back, and
Okay.
hold on, let me send this to you. This is great because all the album, each cover art is fucking better than the last one. I'm gonna shoot it to you here on Facebook real quick, but yeah. But I need to pick up that run. I think that's I was actually in the process of ordering those 4 issues like last year, and I think the comic book shop I was ordering from just didn't have it, or they misplaced it or something. But it's the fucking series is great. Like issue 2 is just fucking awesome.
Nice.
The but I do have a lot of the Lobo stuff too. I do have the what is it? The one where he goes back and just fucking murders his entire fucking planet, which is great just because he could. He just wanted to be the only one. That's really it, if I remember right. And then there's some weird like Lobo crossovers.
Interesting.
Let me see.
I know there was like Lobo versus Archie at some point, right?
Yeah, it was something ridiculous. I want to say like I don't think it was Winnie the Pooh, but they did like Lobo and the Mask. Wolverine and Lobo. I'm pretty sure I don't think there's one with Scooby Doo. There's Lobo and the Roadrunner. That was one I was thinking of. That watch where fucking Wile E. Coyote pays Lobo to take out the Roadrunner. And it's ridiculous. It is not a kid's comic at all. It is ridiculous. And the fucking cover of just like Lobo with his like rocket guns and stuff aiming at the Roadrunner is fucking perfect.
Did you ever read the like Batman versus Elmer Fudd?
No.
So they did that recently, and it's bizarre because it is like a almost realistic take on the Looney Tunes characters versus Batman. So like I think like Bugs Bunny tends bar at some bar in Gotham, and like Elmer Fudd is like trying to hunt down Bruce Wayne because they both were dating Silver St. Cloud, and then she died. And now they've written Elmer Fudd into the DC continuity as a real character, and it's just the strangest shit.
Jesus Christ. Batman versus Elmer Fudd. Jesus Christ. There's a Batman versus Lobo. I still love, on the topic of Superman and Batman, I love that the Lobo versus Superman is that he could have killed Superman, but he was too drunk and passed out. He's in the middle of fighting Superman, super drunk, and just passes out. It is fucking amazing. It's like just beats the shit out of Superman. Could have killed him. Fucking too drunk, passes out. That's it. It's fucking awesome. Like we need more of that. We need more of Lobo and like everything. Like he's like literally like about to kill Superman and just like I'm out. And if it passes out, he's just drunk. That's it. He's just too drunk and just fucking passed out. Superman got his ass kicked in fucking The Dark Knight Rises. Lobo beat the shit out of
So while freeing the Sun Eater, Superman is attacked by a bunch of Bizarros. So Bizarro is an old school Superman concept. Do you know much about Bizarro? Did you see the C-Lab 2021 Bizarro episode?
Oh, of course I did. Bizarro. I'm regular Stormy. I'm Bizarro Stormy. I'm gonna give him a peanut. Oh, I'm allergic. I'm gonna give him a peanut. A peanut head.
So Bizarro is effectively the anti-Superman, and like Quintum gets into like, you know, every time he tries to clone Superman or make a new thing using, you know, try to sequence, you know, Superman's genome, he comes up basically with a Bizarro. And it's effectively an imperfect clone of Superman, but a lot of them have the tendency to speak negatively. So instead of like, I like cake would be like, I no like cake, or I hate cake. And
this.
And so, like, speaking in this reverse manner becomes kind of part of his, like, he has to figure that out in order to communicate with them.
Which is like a chore on its own too. Like, wow, I have to like kick the shit out of these things, and now I have to fucking get like instruction manual. All right, I gotta decode what the fuck they're saying. Like, being Superman fucking sucks.
So on Earth, a bunch of Bizarros attack a Christmas party. This doesn't show up too much, but in this circumstance, they act kind of like the John Carpenter Thing, where if they touch you, they take your appearance upon, but also you kind of also become a Bizarro at that point, and your skin starts to like drip off of you, and so they take the appearance of things they touch and transform people they touch into more Bizarros. Outside of that Christmas party, one of the, I guess, Steve Lombard, who is an old school Superman Daily Planet character, throws one of them out of the window and isn't changed by it. I guess we later find out that he is on a significant dose of steroids, and that's the reason why they can't infect him. Is this something to do with steroids? Is throwing off their ability to absorb him?
This whole scene reminds me of the Jack Nicholson character from Mars Attacks. You know, the casino dude. It reminds this whole like behavior of this entire thing reminds me exactly of that. And it's like if I'm reading it, I'm like, holy shit.
So outside of that Christmas party, a Superman version of Bizarro shows up. So in the regular DC continuity, this would be referred to as Bizarro #1. He would usually tote around a little placard that says Bizarro #1 on a chain. So Bizarro #1 shows up. Superman fights him off using some strange new powers that he's been developing after his exposure to the sun. So his ability to throw lightning. That's brand new. Yeah, for Force Lightning.
Force Lightning, because why fucking not? Next he's gonna force choke people, and it's gonna be great. Stay tuned.
So he helps a bunch of Daily Planet people to escape. They try to figure out how to fight them. Lombard is immune to them, but that's because he's on steroids, and Superman suggests that maybe we don't want the entire world on steroids. He says the sunlight seems to work against him, but unfortunately it's 9:30 at night and in the middle of December, so that's not going to work. And instead of that, he decides he's going to fly to the Bizarro version of Earth, which is a giant cube.
Because it's not round. Because why would it be?
It's Bizarro.
It's Bizarro.
Bizarro.
I'm gonna give him peanut. It'll kill me. I'm helping. Helping you.
So he flies to Bizarro Earth and he blows up a mountain, causing it to freak out because Bizarro Earth is a living structure unto itself, and it retreats back into the Underverse. Bizarro number 1, the Superman Bizarro, surrenders, and on Bizarro World, Superman meets basically the Bizarro called Zabaro.
Zabaro. Not Sabaro, like the pizza joint, but Zabaro.
So he is effectively the Bizarro World creates Bizarro versions of things that it comes across, but every 5,000th Bizarro is an anti-Bizarro, which is effectively just a guy.
Hey, what's going on, everybody? Ah, shit.
Yeah. So this brings us to issue 8. He is revealed as basically a flawed Bizarro. The world is creating more Bizarros because Superman is the only non-Bizarro on the planet. It's using his memories to create Bizarros. So
as far as I got was like right around this, which if you started from the beginning to this point, you are wildly confused. Like, fuck these Bizarro dudes. What the fuck is going on? Like, can I just have like a panel of like, all right, dumbass, this is what's happening in the story, blah, blah, blah. All right, cool. No,
do you want to?
All of a sudden we have just Bizarro now.
Well, do you want to come back to the rest of this, or do you want to just power through this?
Power through it. It's
all right, power through it. Okay. All right. So Bizarro World has created a whole number of different Bizarro characters from Superman's various memories, including one that is called Le Rouge, which is a Bizarro Jor-El, Superman's dad, or his original dad from Krypton.
Oh, good. So daddy issues are going to ruin this.
Basically, yes. So Superman, because he realizes he has a version of Jor-El on this planet, he wants to build a spaceship like the one that brought him to Earth to get him out of Bizarro World.
Also, meanwhile, one panel I saw before you got on this issue where they're strapping him to a rocket.
Yeah.
Like, oh, we'll build a spaceship. You like rockets, right? This will be fun.
So Mr. Quintum is searching for Superman. He reveals to Lois Lane that Superman is dying. And while he's been investigating the sun that caused him to, that gave him all these new powers, but also is causing him to die, he found some sort of strange dark mark in the middle of the sun. And that'll come back later.
Kind of looks like Steven Wilson. Like Steven Wilson of Porcupine Trees out here with his Technicolor coat, just leading the charge, I guess.
Honestly, yeah, I never put that together before. Yeah, like Steven Wilson, probably like Porcupine Tree era Steven Wilson. Yeah.
I'm like, I mean, I'm just like, I was staring at him for a few minutes, like, he looks like somebody. He looks like Steven fucking Wilson. I just want to go to like a Porcupine Tree shop and you just put on this Technicolor coat. Shut the fuck up and put it on. There you go.
So Superman tries to convince the Bizarros to help him. They mock him until he realizes, oh, right, they talk backwards or they talk in negatives. I also have to talk in negatives in order to communicate with them. So he starts asking them to help him by asking them to not help him.
Come on, you fucking asshole. Why don't you go basically Superman just like
hold on.
Just gaslight
don't come on, you fucking nice people. Don't help me build this not spaceship.
Superman in level 1 reverse psychology and gaslighting saves his life.
They mock him basically until he actually speaks to them in Bizarro speak, and then they're like, oh, yeah, you seem like you know what you're doing. Yeah, let's do that.
Slice and dice.
In addition to this, the Bizarro version of the JLA shows up. Now, if you haven't read this yet, like I feel bad spoiling this, but I'm going to go ahead and do it anyway because this is amazing. So there's a Green Lantern Bizarro who shows up
on his head.
So no, he is he's trying. So his power is to create. So the Green Lantern's power is to create constructs out of green light of anything that he can think of. The Bizarro Green Lantern's power is to create constructs of anything that he can't think of. But the problem is he can think of everything.
Stuart Townsend with an acting career. Hey.
Then the next one to show up is the Bizarro Flash, who is the slowest man alive.
No secret weapon.
The next one to show up is none of them. The problem being that the only other two members of the Bizarro JLA are Wonder Woman. So in the main DC universe, the Wonder Woman is effectively like a Greek demigod who is created from clay. Unfortunately, the Bizarro version of Wonder Woman is a Greek demigod who is created from a Greek demigod into clay. So she's just a statue. And not a great one at that. They suggest that the Bizarro version of Batman would show up, but unfortunately he was shot to death as a child by his own parents.
Where the fuck was that at?
Yeah, it's later in the issue.
Yeah, so there's a Bizarro version of Batman, but his parents just like pulled out some gats and just smoked it out the alleyway just for giggles. I don't like having a child. Fuck you and your crime fighting from the future.
So unfortunately, while he's been away from Earth's yellow sun, Superman has been getting weaker and weaker. Zabaro asks, because you're getting weaker and weaker, can you, like, if you're going to die, could you just send me to Earth instead of you? Because I really don't want to be in this fucking Bizarro world. But there isn't enough room for him on the ship.
Rattle me, and it turns into cruising really fast.
Bizarros burn Bizarro Jor-El on a bonfire because that's what you do to kings on Bizarro World. Effectively, he is the smartest of the Bizarros, so they effectively burn him as an effigy. Zabaro straps Superman to the rocket. The Bizarro Flash brings them a match, but Zabaro accidentally blows it out. Superman decides to just effectively insult Bizarro number one until he gets so angry that he just throws the rocket into space. And the rocket just lands on Earth. Superman lands on Earth and finds out that Earth has changed. There's two other Kryptonians there who have arrived in his absence. And unfortunately, they are giant fucking dicks.
Or a fucking planet that fucking wiped out. You sure are getting a lot of fucking people from there. What is this? Dragon Ball fucking Z? Oh no.
Yeah, that's the thing. So like there's Superman, who is Jor-El of Krypton. There is Crypto, who is a dog from Krypton.
There's a lot of people coming from a planet that was blown the fuck up.
So the other group is the Kandorians, who are so Kandor was a city on Krypton that was stolen by Brainiac. If you remember, like Super Friends or any of the old school Superman comics, Brainiac was a living computer. He's had a few different like versions of himself, but he's usually portrayed as being like a green skinned dude with a giant head.
DC Krang.
But yeah, so Brainiac stole the city of Kandor, transported it to his spaceship, and then shrunk it to be in a bottle. So the Kandorians show up later on in the book. So the two other Kryptonians are really pissed off at him for not figuring out a way to like get the Kandorians back to regular size. They've taken over the Fortress of Solitude while Superman's been on Bizarro World. They really hate Superman for having like gone native with the Earthlings and being, not ruling over them with an iron fist.
I don't know, man. Your city was shrunk and put in a fucking like what I assume is the equivalent of a pirate ship in a bottle. Like, I don't know how badass you guys are, but I mean, getting all fucking heated at zero and enslave this fucking race of people. I'm like, sorry, I wasn't busy being trapped in a fucking fucking Bottle City. That sounds like that's.
So the Kryptonian, the two Kryptonians that show up on Earth, they're not Kandorians. They're people who they were supposed to be like space explorers. So they were traveling through space while Krypton blew up. They didn't realize it was happening. And so when they show up on Earth, they're very surprised to find out that Krypton is dead. They've taken over. So they've taken over the Fortress of Solitude. They end up beating up Superman for having the audacity to sympathize with the Earthlings. They end up throwing him into the moon, which creates a huge crack in the middle of the moon. And then they were like, "Well, I guess we got to fix the moon." So they steal every bridge on Earth, and they just use them to like paper over all the cracks on the moon. So like the Golden Gate Bridge, the Brooklyn Bridge, like all of these different bridges are just like, just like embedded into the moon now.
God damn.
Clark goes back to the Daily Planet to talk about like writing up a sort of an expose on the new Kryptonian.
Gone exactly as long as Superman's been gone, but I have a great fucking story for you guys. Watch that trip down these stairs.
And the Kryptonians show up at the Daily Planet, and they're like, "Oh, you're pretending to be one of them now? What the hell?" They end up fighting Superman, but then their bodies start failing. So we realize that throughout this fight, that because of their time traveling through space, they've encountered a bunch of kryptonite that has been floating through space. And they have just been exposed to it so much that the minute that they hit Earth, basically they had a ticking clock on their existence. So Clark takes him back to the Fortress of Solitude, plugs him into a machine, and offers to transfer their consciousness over to the Phantom Zone. So, do you remember the Phantom Zone from the Superman movies?
Yeah.
So he offers to send them to the Phantom Zone. So the Phantom Zone is like a place where he sends like the worst criminals of the galaxy.
I can save you guys, but you're basically going to the worst prison ever.
Well, his thing is like, well, I'm going to send you in there. You're going to be the strongest prison guards in my prison. So and that basically closes out that issue. The next issue is Superman's diary, which is interesting. It kind of jumps around timelines, but it basically talks about Superman. He decides to send Mr. Quintum into the bottle city of Kandor. He has a solution to the problem of them being, tiny and living in a bottle. He was going to offer to move them to Mars. Where there's not going to be any humans. Like, the thing with the Kandorians is like they have the relative size and strength of Superman, but also like, we could step on them. So it's like, we'll send you to Mars. It's about the same distance from the sun. You're still going to have all the powers of being a Kryptonian in this part of the galaxy, but you and the humans won't interact. You won't need to have problems with each other. It's gonna be fine.
Oh, they colonize Mars.
Yeah. And there's a lot more space for them there because they're tiny. In addition to that, Superman decides he's going to go ahead and create his own universe to try to just like model the idea of like, what is the world going to look like after I'm gone? So it's like, what would happen if there was never a Superman?
So we need to watch Superman basically jerk himself off for an issue. I'm going to let's see what happens when I'm not involved in this universe.
We see what happens, and it's interesting. So, like later that day, he ends up stopping a supervillain called Meccano Man from attacking the Metropolis Metro.
Like Voltron.
He talks about Lois, about their inability to have children, and how he may have a solution to that. It's basically a lot of him like jumping around and trying to save people. He ends up trying to. He goes to Lex and asks, you have three weeks left to live before the government executes you. Like, do you want to like help me save humanity? Like, we could solve some diseases. We could like, save the world. And Lex just like spits it. he ends up giving his genome to Mr. Quintum so that Mr. Quintum could clone him and even potentially combine it with human DNA if he wanted to. On Superman's, new universe, life starts happening in very quick succession. We start seeing things like, caveman, and then we see early civilizations. We start seeing like the Universe Q version of like the Roman Empire. He convinced, it's everything from like he's gonna like save a bunch of kids who have cancer to like, hey, he found out like a girl is about to like try to commit suicide off of the side of a building, and he's like, he flies over and tries to like convince her not to do it. So it gives you kind of like Superman is trying to be a good person from like, in big ways and little ways. The Kandorians come up with an idea like we can try to like replace, because the Kandorians are so small. It's like, well, maybe we can try to like fix his DNA. They try to do that and fail, unfortunately. But they decide to try to like cure some human diseases instead. And so Superman ends up bringing the Kandorians to like various children's hospitals and trying to save, kids with cancer and kids with various like, genetic diseases and things like that. Meanwhile, on Earth Q, life starts happening kind of in fast forward. We start, seeing people like Friedrich Nietzsche, who starts writing about the Superman, and we start moving into the more modern day, and then we see two men, one named Joe and one named Jerry, and they're like, well, what if we came up with like a comic book character? Well, what if that comic book character's name was, I don't know, like Superman? And so we see like the fictional creation of Superman happening in Superman's, sort of like sub-universe that he never existed in. And the issue closes out with Clark Kent writing his own obituary, effectively, for the Daily Planet. Brings us to the next issue, where Lex Luthor is set to be executed. So Luthor is set to be executed, but he reveals to everybody that he's actually taken a super serum. In fact, the same super serum that Superman had given to Lois Lane. So the electric chair has no effect on him, and then he ends up, shooting everybody with eye lasers and breaking out of prison. We cut back to Superman giving Superman Robot number 7 instructions on how to maintain the fortress. Lex goes to visit his niece Nastia, and she basically announces that she would be very, very happy helping him take over the Earth, so they decide to do that together. It is revealed that Lex has allied himself with a creature called Solaris the Tyrant Sun.
So that was stuff. God.
So that was the thing that Quintum was seeing in the sun earlier, the dark spot inside the sun, which has been Solaris the Tyrant Sun effectively drains all of the energy out of the sun, initially turning it red, which basically makes Superman into a regular human, and then turning it blue, which effectively kills him. Superman, using a new suit which he's created and accompanied by all of the Superman robots, goes to confront it. The new suit basically contains like an internal sun which is blasting it with sun rays. Robot 7 reveals that he has had his neural net invaded by the Solaris monster, which is how Lex Luthor got super serum. Superman's Sun Eater comes back to try to save him. The Sun Eater tries to eat the Tyrant Sun, but is killed. Superman loses his temper, beats up the Sun Eater, crashes it into the Earth, and then after beating down the Tyrant Sun, Clark runs into the Daily Planet to turn over his last story, Superman's obituary, and collapses, not breathing. So Lex Luthor appears, effectively starting the next issue. So Superman, who is now basically dead, or at least almost there, has a dream conversation with his dad. Steve Lombard from the Daily Planet tries to resuscitate Clark Kent, and the Daily Planet staff scream at Lex. Jimmy Olsen tries to fight him, and Lex basically throws him across the office. Clark comes to and shoots Lex with the kryptonite gun that Lois used earlier. Because of the usage of that, Lex's body accelerates the 24-hour power time frame that the super serum gave him, basically making him use up all of his power within about 10 or 15 minutes. He gets overwhelmed by Superman's omniscience and ability to kind of hear everything that's going on all the time and see everything that's going on all the time. He just gets so overwhelmed by the intellectual stimuli that he gets really distracted. Superman just punches him in the face, knocking him out. And realizing he really doesn't have a lot of time left, and he's got to do something to save the world, he flies into the sun, reigniting it. At his memorial service, Lois Lane states that she believes that Superman is still alive. He thinks that Superman is building an artificial heart to power the sun, and maybe he'll return when it's done. Meanwhile, back at Project, Mr. Quintum and Agatha discuss the service, discuss Superman, and Quintum reveals his new intention. He's going to use the genome that Superman provided him to create a new Superman, which obviously will lead into the future Superman from the previous issues coming to be.
Yes.
And that's kind of the end of it. That's kind of that's All-Star Superman.
12 issues in a little over 2 hours.
Yeah, we really powered through that one. I think in future, maybe if we're doing like a 12-issue run, maybe we do it 3 to 4 issues at a time, because this
definitely should.
Crazy.
I'm not aware at all, again, that it was a fucking 12-issue thing. I started reading it, I'm looking through, and I'm like, wait, how fucking long is this? Like, holy shit. And so I got almost through most of it. So.
Yeah, I feel like at the point where maybe issue 7 or 8, like I was so many whiskeys deep, I was like, man, all the things happen.
Take a shot every time the Superman dies. Oh shit.
Yeah, I think
at least you're drinking as much as I do throughout this. I don't feel as bad now. This is all basically tequila with like a dash of pog.
Yeah, this is some of my. So I'm in previous casts that we've done. It's been very much like I've had a beer and you've been.
Yeah, I didn't notice you'll have like wine or like a beer. And I'm like, wow, I feel bad because it's like my third, fourth glass. I'm like,
no, I have beers.
The beer just. Gregg's like, I gotta step it up, man. I reviewed the tape and I gotta bring a bottle this time. Next podcast, you're gonna see behind him a full stock bar and through like.
I'm just gonna get like one of those like hats that you have like with 2 beers with the except it's just gonna be Makers. It's just gonna be Makers. Actually, Makers, Jose Cuervo.
There you go.
We're good.
Gross. Jose Cuervo and Makers all in the same go. Be like 10 minutes in and you're just projectile vomiting into the camera. So now we got cards for our laptops.
Let me tell you about comics, man. Comics are good.
Comics have saved my life.
So yeah, All-Star Superman. So you didn't end up reading the whole thing, but as far as like your sort of perspective on the story and your perception of like Superman as a character. So like, would you consider this to be like, if somebody wanted to like get an idea of like what is a great comic book, would you say All-Star Superman is one of them, or would you not?
I'm gonna cut you off right there. I gotta use the bathroom real quick.
All right.
The flicker is just going to town, so I'll be right back.
Yeah, feel free. I'm gonna plug my shit. Okay, everybody. I'm going to go ahead and just let you know that I have comic books. So, in addition to being an asshole who rambles about this shit on the internet, I also write comic books. So, you can check out my comic book Keepsakes. It is currently on Comixology. It is also currently on Seer Nova Comics. So, if you go to Seer, SEERNOVA, so Seer Nova. .com. You can go ahead and type Keepsakes into their search engine. You can find my comic book up there. I believe it is currently up there as a guided view style comic book. Keepsakes is also on Comixology as a guided view comic book. Also, if you go to twitter.com and I am at ritual_83, you're going to find me and you're going to find all of my terrible opinions about all sorts of terrible things. So you can go ahead and check out my comic book. You can check out my social media there. And I will go ahead, probably when this is over, if you're on YouTube, I'll go ahead and I'll update the YouTube description to include a lot of my social media and various other things. And yeah, read my comics. I'm going to have something else coming out pretty soon, and it's going to be really cool.
What is it? You keep hinting at it, but you won't tell us what
So
this thing is. So
I have. You know how I wrote a comic book called Keepsakes last year that I kickstarted?
vaguely.
So. You know how I won't shut up about it. Okay.
Day with this guy. Have you read my Keepsake comic? And we're all like, yeah, we've read it. But he just like, I wrote a comic book. You guys have to read this. It's pretty good. I liked it.
So before I actually had the idea of it being Keepsakes, I had another story in the collection. So I had been working with one of the other artists, or one of the artists that didn't make it into the book was working on was working on one of the stories, and so I have been receiving pages back finally from him. So I think what I'm going to go ahead and do is when I receive these pages back, I'm going to post them on. First of all, I'm going to send them to all the people who supported the Kickstarter for it.
Oh my God, buddy! Sorry, he jumped up on the thing and needs attention. We shave him occasionally because he's a Maine Coon mixer. He gets super crazy fluffy. Hold on. Let me see if I can get him in his. There we go. So the haircut, which is tail, right?
Yeah.
And he likes to be held like a baby because he is a giant baby, even though he's a giant cat. There you go, buddy. All right.
We ran base paws on our cat, and she is a mixture of ragdoll with a Oriental long hair.
Oh wow!
So she has all of the fur and the markings of a ragdoll, but she has the face of an Oriental, which is like a kind of a good combination because they're very attractive cats.
There, like my cat Abby is. I think she's just a domestic long hair, probably. And she has like the mustache and everything, the weird markings.
Yeah.
B over here though is like this Maine Coon mix, and he's a really long boy with big fucking paws. And it's weird. We shave him. He actually has. Let's see if he'll let me show you. He has like these leopard print on his butt. So we like to. He's got to be held like a baby. He just loves it. Now he's like super content that I'm paying attention to him and holding him like a baby.
Ours really does not like being held like that, but I envy you and your ability to hold your cat like a baby.
He loves it. He actually likes it when it's like crazy tight and he's like a ball and he just purrs like crazy. But I think he has a lot of anxiety and stuff moving. So he's been kind of getting attention, but he likes to hide under blankets more. We got him we saw this big old like cactus cat bed at like PetSmart. So we got it. We were upset because my cat, who's a total queen bitch of everything, because that's who he is, like will just take everything. Like when they had 2 cat beds, she would grab his bed and drag it on top of hers and lay in it. She's basically me in cat form. She's like this spiteful little creature, and she's super adorable. And then B is just super cuddly and just loving. And so when we got him this cactus pet bed, we're like, crap, Abby's gonna take it, and he's gonna be like upset by it. And she did for a while. Then finally, he just started going in there and using it, and so it's been kind of cool. But I think he's been super stressed with moving and stuff, and now he just wants me to hold him, I guess. No. Ah, what's going on, buddy?
Oh, they love to thwack sometimes. Yeah.
Okay, come here.
Yeah, we're unfortunately gonna have to move in this whole mess probably in about 3 to 4 weeks, and yeah, I'm not really looking forward to it. Not looking forward to getting our cat used to a new area. Just it sucks, but despite everything that's going on, we all have lives. We all have to continue like existing as human beings, and
I remember your partner was talking about that on talked to her the other day and mentioned that moving and stuff. I'm like, and especially you guys were planning on moving overseas and stuff at some point, and so hopefully that'll like get better someday. I don't know if it'll, with the way things are, I don't know if it'll be this year. Like this
yeah, unfortunately, the USCIS is going to be closed until July. June, early June. And I'm hoping that's the last delay that we have in that going on, because it's I don't know, it's one of those things like, can't you folks figure out a better way to do biometrics than in person if you're going to be closed for 3 to 4 months at a time? So this is kind of our situation right now. But yeah, we are planning on a move at some point to the UK.
I don't know what travel is going to be like though, because as far as I know, we're still not letting anybody leave the U.S. right now or come from.
Yeah. There's only 2 or 3 airlines that are doing it. People are able to leave as long as they're able to go to a place. But yeah, people are able to, especially to Europe. It's just people coming in from Europe, which is a problem. It's the other way around. That's the issue.
They're going to be doing a pretty. I don't know, how are they doing with the whole event?
Some things suck. Like I'm originally from the UK, and depending on where you are in the UK, it's either fine or it's a nightmare. Like there's certain parts of the UK where like police are taking the opportunity to be absolute like trash. Like they're like,
we don't even have guns, and they're still finding ways to be pieces of shit.
They're trying to like when Easter was coming up, they were like, oh, stores aren't allowed to sell Easter candy. Right? Like that's an unreasonable friggin' thing. Like I don't care if you don't consider it to be an essential service. Like it's technically speaking food. Just let people buy the friggin' Easter eggs.
That's ridiculous. Like every country seems to be handling this differently. Our country apparently is doing it the worst. So I am excited for this period of hell we're going to be in for, I don't know, an extended period of time, just from what I've noticed with our own current government trying to handle it and silencing the people that are experts in this shit. Inject yourself with oh my god, that entire thing was I'm just not surprised that anybody in the White House is like, okay, dude, you're just fucking fired. Like, what the fuck was that? Fantastic. And I'm like, no, you weren't. Your constituents are that stupid. If you tell them lighting yourself on fire and chopping off your genitals will, give you perfect credit, they'll do it.
even if even if I liked that guy, even if like I was in a perspective like on with a perspective of like maybe that guy isn't like
Yeah,
the worst
yeah,
president we've ever
yeah.
had.
Let's say
So like I would be like, okay, any other person who said something like that, I would be equally as furious because, like, you're the leader of a country. You shouldn't be working on your tight five. You shouldn't be doing jokey jokes in your fucking like. I'm like that's infuriating. Like he has people who will like move on his barest command, and like
he doesn't even have
I
to come
understand
out
like
and say
different
it.
presidents.
He can just like guide you to like where he wants you to go, and these people will just like run with it. They'll just like it's the gospel. Like this is he vaguely it's like the same kind of people that like find weird like weird justifications of being shitty in the Bible. Basically, they're like,
Yeah.
well, it does allude to this. I'm like, yeah, but basic reading comprehension shows that's not what that meant. No,
Yeah.
no. As somebody that has perused the Bible once and have found things in it to justify my own things, but I found a way to do these mental gymnastics. Which, by the way, at this point, I'm a gold medalist in fucking mental gymnastics of convincing myself and anybody else around me that this particular passage means that I can take a shit in Denny's in front of everybody. And it's justified. And I'm like, no, nowhere in this. And it's like, it's basically the same thing where these people like, and granted, he didn't wasn't obscure with it. He pretty much came right out was basically inject yourself with this and, shove whatever it is up your ass. And I'm just like, wow. Like, imagine like even 10 years ago, 15 years ago, or anything like that, if any sort of like political leader came out and said something like that,
Yeah.
like it would have been immediately like, nope, that's it. Like if I was working a job and I came out and said that, I guarantee I would probably get fired.
Especially if you're in a position of any kind of authority in the job.
Yeah. So I'm gonna need you to do here. Then you take this bleach. I need you to mainline it, and this mag light just stick it right up the old poop chute. I'll guarantee it'll knock out that coronavirus in like I don't know 20 days.
Like so like I don't have any fucking response for that. Just like that is oh God, just the
worst timeline. We're living in a literal like Frank Miller like Watchmen-esque.
just
almost his Reagan-esque parody of just like the caricature of a shitty president. We're not dealing with a caricature of a shitty president. That is our president. It's not even I wish we could make fun of him and be like, yeah, he's dumb enough to do this. But no, we don't have to. We don't have to make up things to make fun of him about. He legitimately gives us that ammunition just in his day-to-day incompetency of just like, again, mainline fucking disinfectants. Let's see how that happens. I don't know. I saw Heather's. You'll die if you drink bleach, apparently. So how is that going to fix the Rona?
I mean, I suppose that if you're dead, then you've been cured of the Rona.
I mean, yeah. I mean, technically, he wasn't wrong. If you die from it, he's not wrong. If you die from it, technically, you are cured.
Yeah.
So, I mean, I guess there's that. I want to know who is writing these speeches for him, and can I get that job? Because I'm going to start to make a lot of money of just being like, what should Trump say today? Well,
listen, if you snort pixie sticks, it can cure the cancers.
Pop rocks and cola, baby. Pop rocks and cola. Your parents in the 80s and the 90s said not to. Fuck them. Pop rocks and cola. Also, Reese's Pieces is a form of communication device between us and the extraterrestrials. Use Reese's Pieces, Pop rocks and cola. Bye. Like seriously, like, I mean, I would take that job. I'd be a speechwriter, and I would just. There's nothing that I could do to get him impeached, and I would do my damnedest. I would find very intricate, very not even doesn't have to be intricate. I could basically be like, pull down your pants, take a shit on stage. I'm gonna pull down my pants, take a shit on stage, and people would just clap. The bravery, so stunning and brave. What an amazing specimen of human being this is. Obviously, they'll build a metaphor out of it. Well, he's just saying all politics are shit. He is so brave. I'm like, no, he's just an old man with dementia. They'll do anything this fucking like teleprompter says. I typed out the lyrics to Wu-Tang's Cream and he read it verbatim. It was amazing. Like this dude is dumb as shit.
Yeah. It's definitely one of those situations of like, I don't know. I'm kind of at a point where I'm like, yeah, I don't really feel that bad about leaving. If
No, like
leave, I'm gonna leave.
it's something I've definitely I've considered for quite a long time, and with how things have rapidly progressed, I'm just been like, if we like move from like just move to not here, that could be okay.
Yeah,
That could definitely be okay.
yeah, in general, I kind of I prefer living in like smaller places, probably like what people would consider to be more I guess more like trashy, redneckier places. That kind of like resonates a little bit more with me as a human being.
The inner Toby Keith comes out.
It gets there, but it's also like I don't, as much as like as much as like that kind of like world and that kind of kind of folks, like I love them a lot more than like the big city people.
Yeah, no, I grew up in.
I just the level of like I guess the level of Trumpism doesn't really work for me. And that's kind of one of those things. Like I'm just kind of like, well, I lived in Florida for many years. I lived in the South for many years. But like moving back there, just the level of I feel like people have I feel like a lot of those folks have kind of sold out a little bit to the big New York like game show man, and I don't I feel alienated from it quite a bit.
I get people's like, I mean, that's the biggest thing we've been bitching about for decades in America is our own government. It's all corrupt and stuff. So I get people's like need or want for something new and different, but like new and different for me would have been like, I don't know, like Bernie or like
at the very least, like, if you want like a reality TV person, like let's get Honey Boo Boo into office. Honey Boo Boo, I think.
No.
You don't want Honey Boo Boo?
No, we should have got like Mark McGrath from Sugar Ray.
I would vote for Mark McGrath.
I would too. I would tell him you have to play your entire campaign has to be the RPM album where they do a cover of Stand and Deliver from Adam Ant, which is not bad. Like RPM is the one album by Sugar Ray. If I see it on CD or anything, I'll just buy it because it's a fucking good album. And it's really they had a very new metal overtones in it before they went super poppy.
What's they had an Adam Ant cover, you said?
They did Stand and Deliver. It's RPM by
Stand and Deliver. I'm the Dandy Highwayman. That's great.
It's Floored, actually. I'm sorry. It's Floored is the album called. They have a song called RPM, which if you listen to it, you'll be like, oh yeah, I know this song. This album was wait, is this the right one? No, this one had Fly and stuff. I think so. Yeah. No, this had
that was the one that was like it was mostly like new metal, but also there was Fly at the end.
Yeah, they had like Fly. Yeah, basically new metal and then Fly, and then they had Stand and Deliver on there. And it's not bad. It's not a bad album. Like I mean, but I would vote for like Mark McGrath or hell, I would vote for Fred Durst over what we have now.
I feel Fred Durst would be a solid candidate, to be honest. Like I will. There's not a lot of people from that era I would write for, but I would write for Fred Durst. I feel Fred Durst, out of all those assholes, has his head in the right place, has his heart in the right place. Maybe Jonathan Davis as well. Who knows?
Maybe Jonathan Davis. The amount of effort I put in to defend like Limp Bizkit and Fred Durst is amazing. Because you get to a certain point, like you get older and stuff. Oh shit! I can buy Florida on vinyl for like $9. Hell yeah, I'm doing that. Anyway, but like Limp Bizkit, like as you get older, you get to a certain point, you realize that Fred Durst is a very good actor. He's actually not a bad song. I mean, they have Wes Borland in the band, so they're fucking fine. I mean, with Wes Borland, their solid ass rhythm section, which is phenomenal.
Yeah.
Like Fred Durst is a better songwriter than most people give him credit for. And lyrically, he writes some pretty good stuff. And if you get past like the singles, break stuff and shit like that, you're basically dealing with somebody that's singing about most things that a lot of people back then were saying about, like emotions and that kind of confusion and things like that. And he ain't bad. I mean, Wes Borland is still an infinitely a better vocalist than Fred will ever be. But Fred knew that there was a niche in music for him to play. It was almost like, you're really into wrestling stuff. So it's really like the whole heel and hero kind of a thing. And nu metal had that really weird thing. And Fred Limp Bizkit was like the heel of all that. And he was really good at playing that role. Like, I mean, it made him a fuck ton of money. And so if it works, it works. They're not bad. I mean, I like Limp Bizkit quite a bit. I would
He directed a movie that I actually really liked. And
I need to watch that. I haven't watched it yet. How is it? I haven't watched it. You're talking about the Stalker one with John Travolta?
No, I'm talking about so this is okay. We just talked about this guy and we talked about him negatively, but I'll throw it out there with Jesse Eisenberg, called The Education of Charlie Dance.
Oh.
That I thought was such a really, really good movie. Like it was it was about this like kid who grows up and I don't know, it's about this kid in high school going to college and just
I don't think I watched this, but I remember
it's just like a weird coming of age movie, and it's it should be what we understand Fred Durst's lane to be, but it is so not what we understand Fred Durst's lane to be that I'm sort of like, yeah, this is a Fred Durst movie, and this is it felt very personal for him, and I felt that it was really good.
He did this short of where he's like this pastor, this televangelist kind of a thing, and it was like a short film as this priest, and it was really fucking good. But I haven't watched his newest one where he wrote about the stalker and stuff, and I've been needing to actually watch that with John Travolta and stuff. And there's supposed to be named a few different things. If I remember right, there's a couple different versions, and there was a version that came out that I gotta remember reading it again, but I think John Travolta took it and re-edited it too to make it better. There's some weird shit about it, but
yeah, you don't want to give John Travolta edit control of your movie.
You don't want to at all.
He's I don't know. That's one of those things. I feel like I don't know. So a friend of mine has a sibling who is a jazz musician, and I guess in LA, Fred Durst owns a jazz club there, and was tickled pink about their sister playing at Fred Durst's jazz club. And I just I don't know. I felt like it was why are you why do you think it's so silly / funny that Fred Durst, a guy who's most of his career has been based around extrapolations of hip hop, so therefore would have been conversant in jazz and R&B and things. Why do you think it's so funny that he has a jazz club? I don't know. I feel like, you know, Fred Durst. Fred Durst is kind of patient zero for how much the world hates its 90s past and how much it probably shouldn't hate its 90s past. Like, I feel like it is, I don't know. Maybe with like the Matrix coming back, people will stop like trying to be such like assholes about like acknowledging that the 90s was fun.
The '90s wasn't that bad.
The
I mean,
90s the 90s was really fun in my opinion. I thought it was like the early 2000s that kind of screwed everything up for
yeah, the early
everybody.
2000s kind of got pretty shitty. I mean, because you started off pretty much almost right off the bat with like 9/11, and then just we got like Puddle of Mud and things like that. So
Unfortunately,
did
Puddle of Mud,
you
their
watch?
career started by Fred Durst, but
Huh?
Fred Durst discovered them. Me.
Did you watch the
He
Nirvana
gave it a
cover?
scope, yeah.
Did you watch that Nirvana cover?
No, no.
You should. You should watch it. Get your like live reaction to it because it is the most terrible fucking thing I've ever heard in my life. Like I'm pretty sure like fucking Kurt Cobain came out of the grave and Courtney Love killed him again, basically. So like it was really bad. It was a really bad cover. Terrible fucking cover. And it's funny because earlier today I saw that Post Malone, and I don't fucking listen to him ever at all, just because I'm just not interested in that side of gimmicky rap. But he did this entire Nirvana set, live stream for donation, and it was really fucking good. It was really fucking good compared to like the Puddle of Mud shit. Like it's funny to see like Puddle of Mud, who basically is like most of the career that people have tried to compare that dude.
Everything is blurry. Never
Like,
thought.
because there's like a post grunge era, which I hate post grunge. Post grunge is the dumbest genre, and that's where you get Pedal of Mud, you get Nickelback, you get most of those bands that all sound the same with the same. You got Creed in there too, as much as Creed likes to be.
I did like so I like Cold and
Cold was good. I liked
I
Cold.
like Seven Dust a lot. I like early Seven Dust.
I need to like. I went and saw Seven Dust years ago when I was living in Boise. It was like 2005 or six. I saw $7, paid $10 for see Seven Ducks, Non-Point, Wicked Wisdom, Jada Pinkett Smith's band, and a couple other bands. And holy fucking shit, Seven Dust was great, and I would go see them again because they put on a great show. Like early Seven Dust is amazing, but like through that whole era of those bands, like Puddle of Mud, people would like try to compare for whatever ungodly reason him to like Kurt. And so it's really funny to see them like decades later, I'm gonna do About a Girl. And it is the worst cover imaginable. Like I think I could do a better cover of it, and I can't sing for shit. But it was way better than him. It is terrible. And then this 24-year-old like dude that's known for rap, basically his entire career does an entire Nirvana set of just not like the obvious songs, but a lot of deep cuts too, and it sounds fucking great.
All right, so we're gonna finish off this live stream with a live reaction to Puddle of Mud's About a Girl. So in case we get killed by YouTube like we did before, go ahead and plug anything you gotta plug.
It's basically like the second you type in Puddle of Mud in YouTube, it's boom, About a Girl. There's an HD version, so we should just pull that up and just.
I've got it up on my screen here. Go ahead and if you have anything to plug, go ahead and plug it right now. You had like a Randy Savage, The Crow.
Oh yeah, so so for the last it's almost been a couple of years. Me and my buddy Tommy, who will probably be on the show occasionally to talk about Jack Kirby and Conan and other nerdy ass shit that he likes to talk about. We've been making music for like 10 years or so now. We recently started working on a comic book series, which of course is going to take for fucking forever to do because I'm really weird and I write in a weird way, so I had to like know everything about this universe I'm writing in to like write in it. So it's a really weird process. But we decided, based off of like just for giggles, based off the last couple streams we've had, especially the one about Macho Man and the Crow, we decided to do like probably a 4-issue short run of Macho Man as the Crow. And the conversations, like we have a buddy of ours that I'm like sweet talking and doing the cover art because he's like an amazing artist. He might be on here too because he draws really good shit. He likes comics, and so I'm like trying to convince Tommy. Basically, I'm convincing him. He loves the idea, but it's one of those things where I really got to like get on his ass about till he does it, just because he's not lazy. He just needs to just draw more. but yes, a 4-issue run of Macho Man
Randy Savage,
basically. And I think what I'm gonna do is I would like to write, kind of take borrowing from a lot of the WWE events with like Miss Elizabeth and Lex Luger, just the overdose and all that stuff. Maybe just tie that in, and we'll see how that works. Like, there's already been a colorful cast of characters we've talked about, including with someone suggested Sergeant Slaughter, which I'm not going to say no to because it's Sergeant Slaughter. But
I mean, you gotta get Sergeant Slaughter. You gotta get Jake the Snake Roberts.
The Ultimate Warrior, of course, is in that. I don't know. I think maybe the overall like villain is going to be Vince McMahon because that would make sense. Yeah. But like, I don't know, because I'm rereading like the old comic, so I think I might try to base it off more comic than movie wise. His movie it's good, but the comic had like a lot of things the movie didn't have, namely the skull dude that kind of leads Eric.
The skeleton cowboy, yeah.
Yeah, and so I want to figure out who should be the skeleton cowboy. Now, should it be Hulk Hogan because they were friends, even though they had their whole thing? I don't know. I'm kind of figuring out who should be that role. I'm kind of torn.
The Genius, Leaping Lanny Poffo.
There you go.
That's Randy's brother, but also you could play with his character as the Genius, I think.
And that's why we're going to convince Gregg to help write too, because
I know too much about 80s.
WWE knowledge is way more than mine. I'm really just going to be writing things in a Macho Man voice. Just Macho Man. Like I asked a buddy of mine to do cover. I'm like, I say Tommy hasn't started on the concept art yet, but I just really want to see Macho Man, the Crow makeup and stuff. He's like, what about the beard though? Like, what, I'm like, leave the fucking beard. Like, this is Macho Man. You got to have his shades though. I think it'd be kind of it'd be kind of great. And a very nice moment where he takes his shades off. And just like the paint underneath.
If he has the paint, like the black paint,
it look like Lobo.
Also, like, what if the shades had the paint also, but in white?
You just painted over the shades. This is how much about. Oh my god, So yeah, so we're gonna work on that. So we'll see what kind of a train wreck of a series this is. Probably Gregg as a creative consultant, like, hey,
that's not how the Macho Man would talk.
Talk like this.
All right. Yeah. In addition to that, any other things to plug or? You all right?
No, sorry, the check-in area. But no, other than that, no, we'll work on that. God knows when that'll be out. So, we'll probably give updates as we go along, maybe post something on stream. I don't fucking know. I'm just waiting for Tommy's ass to start drawing. So I can't draw, I can't sing, but I can write a little bit. So we'll see how that plays out. What about you? Anything else you want to plug?
I have Keepsakes, which, as I mentioned while you were in the bathroom, is up on Comixology and is up on Sierra Nova Comics. It'll be up on a third place that I can't talk about until it gets posted. So I will.
The secret place.
Secret place, but it's really cool. I'll tell you offline because
I'm
I
excited.
gotta post about it to somebody because it's really freaking cool. But yeah, I as soon as I'm able to post about it, I'm gonna post about it nonstop because it's really cool. I'm gonna have a new thing that'll go up. It's gonna be like a 7-page comic pretty soon. And then I have a self-drawn comic that I'm working on right now that'll be up on probably Webtoon and Tapas in hopefully by the end of the month, but we'll see. And then
That's kind of what I've been working on your Instagram, seeing your little drawing exercises and stuff. You're looking pretty good. Like it's gotten a lot better from the beginning. Because I mean, like I said, you can draw. I can't draw for shit. Like my comic would be like a stick figure of just like, this is it. Like I remember Tommy was like, you started working on like storyboarding, and I'm like, it's really just going to be like really shitty stick figures, and like that's it. Enjoy drawing off of that. So no, I've been digging seeing those pop up because you can definitely tell, you know, as you've been going along, you get a lot better at certain things. So I'm really curious to see what a written and drawn comic by you is going to look like.
I appreciate that. Thank you. I have a very, very short story, which is literally 100 words, going to be coming out in an anthology next month called Fatal Fairies. It's going to be put out by Nocturnal Sirens Publishing. This Nocturnal Sirens Publishing into Amazon. You can pre-order the ebook there. If you go to my Twitter, which is ritual at ritual.a3, you'll be able to see. You'll be able to go to some previously published short stories of mine, and yeah, we'll go ahead and we'll finish off the stream. All right, we're gonna play this, and we're gonna react to it, and then I'm gonna say goodbye.
This is gonna be so bad. Is it playing on the stream or is it just
playing on the stream? Yeah.
Why can I hear it? I can't hear any of it.
You can't hear it?
No. Which is probably good for me, but not for anyone else. Yeah, I noticed that earlier when we played something else. Like, I don't know if you have to share volume or something on it.
Yeah, maybe.
The video worked. The one video worked just fine, but this in itself, you can't hear any of it. Can you hear it?
Weird.
Can you hear this video?
Yeah, I absolutely can. Yeah, that's.
Let me see if she can hear it. She's like watching it too.
I'm back up.
Huh? Oh, that's right. You're gonna be kind of. Well, you should be able to see the. Yeah, she can't hear it at all either.
Okay. Oh, okay. There's a share audio tab. Okay.
Hey, now started over.
All right. Let's see if we can start this over.
There it is.
You got it? Okay.
Sorry for the people we shared a video earlier.
Whoops. Sorry, we lost like 5 people.
Easy friend, I do.
Oh my God.
Head to hand, I do. Yeah. This you, I do have a clue. Take it.
How are they taking him seriously? Are they playing shit?
Me out to try. I can see you every night.
It's like those Creed Shred videos.
Now standing in your line, I do. Hope you have the time. I do.
He's like taking a shit. I'm tired.
I do. People, they with you. can't stand it round. Take me out to dry.
Oh no.
I can see you every night.
Oh no.
Here.
The guy in the bongos.
How is the band taking themselves seriously?
Easy frown. I do with that until later. I do. Because number 2. I do. Keep on, stay with you.
Yeah.
Then it's wild. You hear me out to dry. I can see you every night. I can see you every night. Real.
I think we lost Vaughn. And Courtney asked Vaughn to log back in. This was fantastic. Oh. All right. So that was
crashed. That made my computer crash. My computer's like straight up like frozen on it. You fucking broke my computer, dude. This is so fucking.
Oh, this is the best day of my life.
Computer
We get to crash your computer with.
It did.
All of them up.
It legitimately crashed my computer with fucking Puddle of Mud's bullshit ass singing. I was waiting because I saw it froze. I'm like, oh, maybe it'll kick back on and stuff, and we'll see what happens. But no, it's straight up was like, fuck you, dude. So that's what happens when we play Puddle of Mud on the stream. It breaks my computer.
Yeah, we don't actually get our stream shut down. We just your computer just commits hara-kiri, and it's
Streamlabs, YouTube, and Twitch all agree that's an appropriate punishment. They're like, well, you guys, talk shit about Trent Reznor, and we'll just shut you the fuck down. Yeah, watch them. Fuck your computer.
All right, I'm gonna go ahead. I'm going to go ahead and let you go, but this has been an experience. I appreciate you being along for this experience. And oh my God, what the hell was this experience?
Oh my God, that's going to keep you up at night. You're going to wake up at 2:30 a.m. wide awake. Yeah, and your partner's be like, "What the fuck is wrong with you?"
All right, man.
Oh my God.
Yeah, good one. And for everybody out there, have a great night, and release the Howard cut.
Release the Howard cut. Absolutely.
All right.
See ya.